What's going on, people, and welcome back to We Are Tottenham TV. We have got a special live stream to bring to you today. We're going to be going for the next hour or two, depending on how many of you guys want to have your say. But we are talking about ENIC and 20 years of ENIC. I think it was last week marked the 20-year anniversary of Joe Lewis, Daniel Levy at the helm at Tottenham Hotspur. There's been a lot of kind of perceptions about Daniel Levy and Joe Lewis and about ENIC, about how they run the club. Obviously, a lot of fans point to that one trophy win in 20 years being clearly not good enough, which is not good enough. You've got to be honest about it. But there's been a lot of good work that has gone in over the years. You know, when Daniel Levy and ENIC took over, Spurs were like flirting with relegation, mid-table mediocrity. And now it's a failure if we don't get into the Champions League. So you've got to say that good work has gone in under ENIC in their 20-year tenure. But on the flip side of it, one trophy in 20 years is not good enough. Is that all down to Daniel Levy? Is that all down to ENIC? Is that all down to the ownership? Why we haven't won a trophy? Why we have only had one trophy in the last 20 years? Let's see what you guys have to say about it. But in my opinion, yes, a lot of the blame does lie with Daniel Levy and ENIC in terms of why we haven't kicked on in certain situations. But in terms of one trophy in 20 years, is that actually down to Daniel Levy and ENIC and the way they run the club? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into that with fans' opinions and everything, but I don't think the trophy issue is just down to Levy. I think obviously they do have a big impact on that. I think they're a problem in terms of they've built us up in such a way that they're tasked with getting us to the next stage, and I'm not sure that they're up to taking us to the next step in their own process. Because I think we're still acting like we're the club we were when they took over, I think a lot of the time. Or even we're still acting like the club we were, for example, when we were under Martin Jol, when we first started getting into Europe and first starting getting a bit of success. We had to find the gems in the market. We had to do these kind of things to kind of get ahead of the opposition in different kinds of ways. But since we moved into the new stadium, since we're getting regular Champions League football, it's time to take the club in a new direction, I feel, and a lot of fans feel. I think it was time for the club to start acting like a big club. And I think and be more ruthless in certain aspects and stuff like that. And I think that at the moment is where the club is failing at and where the structure is failing. And it's got a lot of things to be held accountable for. But you know, you off the pitch and even on the pitch, you've got to say they've improved dramatically since when they took over. You've got to say that. And you have to say the club are a different animal from when they took over. I think we're a much, much bigger club now. There's no argument about that. We're a massive club. The new stadium has taken, one of the best stadiums in world football. You got to say that regular European football now. I can't remember the last time we weren't even, let alone Champions League. When was the last time we went in Europe? It was probably the season before
Slavia Prague, that first year back in Europe, wasn't it?
I'm trying to think. No, it was actually under Redknapp, because we didn't, when the season we got Champions League, I don't think we were in Europe that year.
Were we not?
I don't think so, because the season before that was one day Ramos, and we finished at 8th or something. We just missed out on Europe. I think
we won the cup.
No, we didn't.
No, last year of Ramos we won the cup, didn't we?
No, 2 points from 8 games we're talking about.
Oh, that season, yeah.
So we didn't get Europe, and then Redknapp's first full season, he got us top 4, but we weren't in Europe. That was probably the last time we weren't in Europe at all. But by and large, we've pretty much been a European mainstay since 2005. We've been a top 6 mainstay, barring one or 2 years, since 2005. That's 16 years. That's a long time to say, when it's really hard to achieve. And I think that's the problem with all managers that have come into Tottenham. They've all had to overachieve to succeed. And Pochettino was great at that until he wasn't. And that's the problem. And whether they can take us to the next level is a big question mark. And
that's the thing, though, because it always gets to a certain stage with ENIC where, you can say they're good owners, they're doing well, but then it always gets to that certain stage where we need to kick on and we just don't do that. How many times can we say that? Under every single manager under the ENIC tenure have all come away saying the same thing. Every single one. What I mean? Harry Redknapp, Andre Villas-Boas, Pochettino, Martin Jol even, and we have to remain to
see.
They
all overachieve and then they all get to a certain stage.
Well, not all of them, but some of them.
Most of them, like Redknapp, Pochettino, they overachieve to a certain point and you're like, okay, they're doing well. Now just a little bit more investment and we can actually reach the next level. And each time the board fail us in that sense, and that's the most frustrating thing.
And the most criminal one out of them all is the Pochettino one, because Pochettino calling for this rebuild, calling for this rebuild, calling for this rebuild on this cusp of greatness, on the literal cusp of greatness, from fighting at the top of the league, getting to semi-finals, getting to a Carabao Cup final in his first year, getting to a Champions League final. But that year that we didn't sign anyone literally held us back 4 or 5 years, in my opinion.
And there was no one who could so obviously take us that level than Pochettino. It was so clear the way he had us playing, the consistency he had us playing, everyone fighting in the same direction. Everyone was on board. We had players, we had a really great group of players there and a manager who they all believed in. And if you're not going to back him, then I don't know who you are going to back. And that was the biggest frustration, I think, at the time.
But in terms of winning a trophy under Pochettino, winning a trophy under Harry Redknapp, like, is it down to Daniel Levy we lost in that semi-final to Portsmouth under Harry Redknapp? Is it down to Daniel Levy we lost in that Carabao Cup final under Pochettino? Is it down to Daniel Levy that Heung-min Son gives away that penalty at playing at left back against Chelsea in the semi-final? You know what I mean? Is it down to Daniel Levy why we lose that Champions League final? Moussa Sissoko handballing it in the first few minutes and giving away a penalty? Is that down to ENIC? Is that down to the board?
You might have to argue that. The
well,
Champions League final
I'm asking
might
the
be
questions.
Daniel Levy.
I'm asking the questions.
I think when it comes to one-off occasions, was it Levy's fault that Son gave away the penalty? No. Was it Levy's fault Sissoko sticks out his hand? No. Was it Levy's fault that Chelsea scored 2 deflected goals in the final and ended up winning 2-0? It's not all his fault. But there's an overarching theme, and the overarching theme is we keep getting to semi-finals or finals throughout this whole 20-year period, and the players are just not good enough a lot of the times to make that extra step when it really, really counts. And I think if we had a better quality or standard of players, probably in these moments, that's a reality.
In the Levy tenure, was Alan Sugar our chairman in 91? He wasn't, was he? For Irving Scholar in his tenure, and 1 trophy for Daniel Levy in his tenure. But when you judge...
Who was chairman in the 80s?
I'm not too sure. But when you judge all three, or let's just do Alan Sugar, when you judge them two, you would say Daniel Levy is head and shoulders above Alan Sugar in terms of chairman and where we are as a club. But Daniel Levy gets painted and ENIC get painted with this brush, don't they?
Well, if you probably asked every chairman in the league who the best chairman in the league is, they'll probably all say Daniel Levy. They're probably all in awe of what he does, what he's done, because of the way he's built up the club without investing so much money, without investing any money from their own, self-sustaining, to be able to build the club,
win titles, win Champions League. Coutinho for a lot, sold Suarez for a lot. So, I mean, on the odd occasion, if you have these gems...
Just for selling Keane and Berbatov and...
but we didn't invest it correctly,
Modric.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, that's a massive... Sustaining can work, because we've seen with Liverpool, they've won a title, they've won Champions League. Obviously taken time, well, they've done it under this model. So it's definitely... we've definitely seen how it can work if you do it correctly. But the fact is, whenever we have sold big, or if we have hung on of letting it all go...
I think we're lagging... for some reason. Yeah, everyone's saying it's lagging really bad in the comments.
Apologies, guys. 1 sec. Yeah, really bad lagging. All right.
Let's cut to a 2-minute break.
All right, we're just going to cut to a 2-minute break, guys, and then we're going to try sort the lag out. All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Sorry about that. It looks as though Daniel Levy might have tried to hack into our stream.
What happens when you do an ENIC on our Wi-Fi?
Exactly. We can't be talking about ENIC in any or Tottenham in any sort of negative
You get what
light.
you pay for, right?
We're running on Daniel Levy Wi-Fi today, so there you go.
It is what it is, unfortunately.
But look, what doesn't sit right with me as well is that all those years of not spending money under Pochettino and Daniel Levy is just giving himself bigger and bigger pay rises and bigger bonuses throughout the years.
And I think the playing staff will probably see that and also start to get a bit disillusioned in that sense.
And, you know, Danny Rose, when he came out to the Sun all those years ago, talking out against the board, and he was completely spot on at the time of what he was saying.
But if we had Daniel Levy sitting right here, I'm assuming he would probably argue in the last two transfer windows, I think we've had the highest net spend out of it. Maybe not now because of Chelsea spent 200 million and stuff. Well, one of the highest net spends.
I think if you put two of the windows together,
we might be the highest. So he would probably say we're trying to invest, we're trying to act like a different club, but it takes time. Maybe that's what probably he would say.
Yeah, but the whole thing with ENIC is they've never acted quick enough. Never, ever have they acted quick enough when we've really needed something to kick on. It's always little too late. You know, that the season when we signed Ndombele, Lo Celso, Ryan Sessegnon smashed our transfer record. It was 3 years too late. We needed that investment 3 years prior to that. And they'd let the squad fester. And that's still going on now. Look at all these problems that we're going through now with the squad kind of gone completely stale and divisions in the camp and all that kind of stuff. That's all got to do with that summer where we didn't spend any money. And Daniel Levy and ENIC have a lot of kind of culpable hands there, because it's actually a disgrace. It's actually a complete disgrace how they've let it got this far. Because we were one of the best teams in the Premier League, and now we're like not even in like top 5 at the moment.
Yeah, and I think they're way too slow to react. You're absolutely right on that. And I think as well that they don't adapt as quickly as they think they do. I think there was a stage where they had Paul Mitchell and they were getting ahead of the opposition in a few signings, and they were getting ones through the door which were on like really quickly and for cheap prices. But there's only so long you can sustain that. Like, if you do that every time you make a transfer, like, you have to get it so spot on, because otherwise you're lagging behind. And with each failed transfer, we've been lagging further and further behind. And now we're in a situation where we've got quite a lot of disillusioned players in the squad, and it needs another rebuild. And we all could have seen it, but they reacted too late to it. So that is it's been a massive problem. It's been a massive problem, but I guess we have to see what the fans think. I want to get fans' opinions on this. Have Levy done a good job, or have they not done a good job? Right. I guess it's two debates, isn't it, from a business side and from a footballing side?
Yeah, but I know these. I think you need to put it all together and look at the bigger picture, because you need to look at where we were at a club before they took over, where we are now, and then all the nitty gritty in between of where we could have gone. You know what I mean? What could have been. So it is a difficult question to answer. Have they done a good job? Because when you look at where we were and where we are now, then you got to say it's a no-brainer. Then of course they've done a good job.
Yeah.
But it's all when you look into it with a kind of magnifying glass and seeing where we could have been, then you're left seeing like maybe they haven't done such a good job, or maybe I don't know. It's very difficult. But let's get the fans on. Let's see what they have to think. I know Brian Daigle has a lot to say on this matter, so let's get him on and let's see what he has to say.
Oh, and he's gone full Levy for today.
He's gone full Levy.
You knew what was coming.
I've gone full Levy because I'm going to fly over to England, abduct him, and start writing the checks. I am so happy you've had this show. I am furious, and I apologise if I start shouting and screaming, because enough of this goddamn parasite.
All right, Brian, let me just ask you this, yeah? Before everyone knows what state the football club was in before ENIC took over. You know, we were going into the abyss, mid-table mediocrity, a few relegation battles there as well. Obviously, where we are as a club now is completely night and day. When you look at it as an overall picture, have they done a good job?
As I said to you before, and I'm going to change my scores that I gave you last time. So I said, on the business side,
I'm not saying forget business side and football side. Put it all together and give me a result.
I think he's a parasite. He ain't done a good job at all. We are a football club that are meant to win football games and win trophies and win stuff on the pitch. We are not a property magnate that has a side of a football team. We are a football team that need to be winning things, and we have won one thing in 20 years. The players we could have had, the players we've lost, this whole situation now with Bow running his mouth. This is the perfect... Why sell Bow if he was going to come and take the piss out of us for 1 year with that money? Say, why are you taking the piss out of me, and use that money to sign Skriniar? Use that money to buy players that will commit to the club. No, I want to make money and nothing for Tottenham, so I'm going to sign Bow because he'll make more money for me. Pathetic.
But at the time, wasn't the whole fan base on side with signing Bale?
No, don't get me wrong. If it worked out, it worked out. But the thing is, we're going on here where we're saying about how we wanted a centre-back, All these rumours coming out, whether they're rumours, whether they're true. But now I'm starting to believe that they're true with what Kane has said. And we could have had these players. Like I said to you on WhatsApp earlier, perfect thing to sum up. Last Christmas, we wanted backup for Kane. So we signed Bergwijn, a right winger, who we now play at right back. But we went out and signed a right wing back in Doherty to play at right back, which isn't his position, and we haven't fixed any of those positions. How many more examples do people need of what's going on the pitch?
Yeah, but this is not... But Brian, have you not got look at in terms of before ENIC took over? I think the last time we finished in the top four or even in a European position was back all the way back in 1985. Before ENIC took over, they took over in 2001. The last time we finished inside the top four was 1985. Before ENIC took over, that's a long time ago. That's 16 years before they took over. And then ever since ENIC took over, we had 2 or 3 years of kind of mediocrity, and ever since 2005 we've been in the top 6 ever since, pretty much. So is that not showing a level of consistency we didn't show beforehand? And there you have to get credit for making us a more established team in the Premier League.
Don't get me wrong, we qualified for Europe. Well done. We struck gold with Harry Redknapp. We struck gold with Mauricio Pochettino. Neither manager was back. Neither manager got the players they wanted. Paul Mitchell left the club because Levy wouldn't listen. No matter what goes on, we struck gold with Pochettino. If anyone...
Martin Jol's first. It was Martin Jol.
There you go. Let's talk about Martin Jol, Simeon. This shows the class of this buffoon that we have running our club. He sacks Martin Jol at half-time. This is the class of this man. He sacks a manager halfway through a game. And why does he sack him? Because he wants to try and continue the club. He knows nothing about football. Nothing. I'm getting sorry. I don't mean to be shouting and screaming. This is
Brian. We know it's a touchy subject. I think everyone has the right to shout when it's talking about Daniel Levy. That's for sure. But yeah, I completely agree with you in terms of Martin Jol. He was one of my favourite managers in kind of my
He's the
history at
catalyst
Spurs.
for all this.
He was the catalyst for all this, and you know, the way he was treated was nothing short of a disgrace. And I'll never forget, and I'll never forgive Daniel Levy for the way he did treat Martin Jol that day, because it was nothing short of a disgrace. It really was. I was in the stadium that day, and I just remember the emotions going through the fans. Nobody cared about the game at that point. Everyone was fully invested in Martin Jol and singing for the great man that he was. And yeah, you're right. Nothing short of a disgrace.
It shows the class of the man. I don't see now. I haven't felt this way for a very, very, very long time. And people go on, but he built us a stadium. Oh, he's got us a training ground. Well done. The way you win for the guy that's going to be such a great businessman, he bought a football club. The clue is in the goddamn title. And when you said earlier, was it Levy's fault that Son gave away a penalty? Was it Levy's fault with these games? Yes, it is his fault. Why is it his fault? Because he didn't back the managers to get the players to play in those positions. Why was
but look, Brian, let's be honest, yeah. Under Harry Redknapp, we lost to Portsmouth in a semi-final of an FA Cup. Don't tell me that's down to Dan. Don't tell me we didn't have the right players in there and the right manager that could have gone and won that trophy that year.
No, with that one, with the Portsmouth game, you're right there. But you can't, you know what I mean? It's not every single game that I will say is Leeds. But the thing is, you look at it, when we've gone and bought players under Pochettino, when you buy players for 10, 15, 20 million, you're getting 20 million pounds worth of talent, plus you're getting 20 million because of their mentality, their physicality, their attitudes. You don't, when you go sign a 60, 70, 80 million pound player, like you go get a Salah or someone like that, you get someone that's the full package. We never, ever, ever buy the full package. It's the let's buy low, sell high, and it doesn't work. How many more years, how many more stories, how many more managers, how many more transfers that don't go through do we have to go through before people say, do you know what? It's been 20 years, one trophy. If you work somewhere and you only did one thing in 20 years, you're sacked, you're gone, you're not performing. But for this clown, it's allowed, and it's rotting through the club. Performances like Thursday, where there's no apologies because there's no winning mentality at this club. Because it's been accepted for 20 years. Just get somewhere where we can make a profit and we're good. We won't back you. We won't do nothing, but just try and do everything you can with no money. It's pathetic.
Right, but when we've been a mid-table club before they took over, we were pretty much mid-table fodder. I think in the Premier League we'd never finished above 7th, and we'd never finished below 14th. We were literally the definition of mediocrity. He was tasked with turning that around, and he was tasked with building up the club so they could be competitive on the football pitch and off the football pitch. And has he not done in that sense? Has he not done his job in the sense that we are now competitive on both fronts?
He hasn't. The managers have. We struck gold. We have struck gold when managers have been lucky. And then you look at it, when you talk about Sugar, and don't get me wrong, Sugar was not the best chairman. Do you remember when we were knocked out of the FA Cup, 12-point ban? Sugar comes out and fights. Sugar comes out and communicates with the club. Sugar, when we had no money, took us out of debt. There would be no Tottenham if it weren't for Alan Sugar. Don't get me wrong, he didn't do the greatest job, but he stopped Tottenham from not even existing. He built the Paxton. He built the Park Lane. Yes, what ENIC have done with the stadium, like I said, business-wise, phenomenal. But at least Sugar had the decency to communicate with the fans and didn't bullshit.
Isn't it a different time, though? Isn't it a different time? What kind of chairman right now is communicating with the fans? What players are communicating with the fans? What manager are communicating with the fans? I mean, football is in a much different space now than it was back then.
Listen, I've said it a billion times, and a lot of people will agree. Leicester are the prime example. Leicester City have got the greatest setup for what they do outside of football with the city, what they've done with the stadium. They invest in the manager. They've now got this youth academy. They do everything. And what you've got to remember, Leicester were a million miles behind us, a billion miles behind us. And now they're a million miles ahead of us. But it doesn't matter because we got the stadium. We got the training ground. If
do you really think they're a million miles ahead of us, Leicester?
Yes, it's got to the point. It's got to the point they are. It really has. And you look at it, you talk about Liverpool, self-sustaining model, but Liverpool put the money in to get them to being self-sustaining. They sold Coutinho and got Alisson and they got Van Dijk. If we sell Kane and Son, no way in a million years do we get all the money, not even half the money. But who in their right mind is going to want to come to Tottenham with them two gone? At least when they got rid of Coutinho, there was Mane, there was Firmino, there was Salah, they had a team. Who in their right mind is going to want to come to us without Kane and Son?
Yeah.
Right,
Who can we attract?
but you say we're not going to get all the money. But when we did sell Bale, I know it didn't. All the transfers didn't work out, but we did spend all that money on getting replacements.
So,
it wasn't as if we didn't get the money.
So, Simeon, if you look back at AVB and what he said, once again, this is where this Levy, this moron, this parasite comes in. AVB didn't want half those players. They were bought by Levy and Baldini.
Yeah.
And he didn't want them. But then apparently when Poch was in, and apparently Levy offered him all these players, but Poch didn't want them, then he doesn't buy them. He cannot have it both ways. 1 minute he buys players for the managers, whether the manager wants them or not. And then with another manager, when the manager says, I don't want these players, you don't buy them. He is a liar, he is a parasite, he is a joke, and he is making us a laughing stock.
So we were not a laughing stock before he came in, though. Like, he's actually made us more respectable. Would you not argue? I could argue that. He's made us more respectable than we were before.
How's he made us more respectable, Simeon?
Because we're now competing in the Champions League. We're now competing near the top of the table. We were mid-table fodder before that. And he's actually made us a competitive team where clubs like Jose Mourinho want to come and manage.
Simeon, I've been Spurs all my life. I'm 41 years old now. Like all the fans we have calling into this great channel. Why is it acceptable just to challenge? If you have this infrastructure and you have Pochettino, and if anyone after Bill Nicholson deserved a blank check to say, here you go, my man, what do you want? Look what you've done. It was him. Why are we accepting a few finals and maybe a second or challenging for... I'm a Spurs fan. I'm 41 years old. I've seen my club personally win 3 or 4 trophies.
Yeah, but that wasn't the story of when Levy took over, though. That wasn't the story. He has to go on what he's got, Levy, and what he had was a team who hadn't finished in the top 4 for 16 years.
So well done, but when we get there, you're meant to strengthen you strengthen your team when you're at your strongest. You do not strip the team apart. You do not sell it for parts and then just don't give the money back. We've got there. We've shown we can get there. We've shown that we can get top 4 3-4 years in a row. So what you do is you build on that. You don't go backwards, and if we don't get a Carabao Cup, if we don't get Europe, we've gone backwards.
Brian, let me ask you this. Let's say if Daniel Levy was to leave, ENIC were to sell up next year or this year, whatever it may be in the next 5 years, have they left the club in a better state than when they took it over?
Well, they've left it in a load of debt because the debt's all in our name, not ENIC's, of course. Why would it be? They've got, like I said, the infrastructure's there. We need someone that wants to invest on the pitch. Mm-hmm. Like, if you told me right now, Daniel Levy will sell the club if I jump off the CN Tower, I will drop this call, run over there now and jump. I've had enough of this nonsense. I will do whatever it takes to get this man out of my club. And Lewis, enough is enough.
And you know what we say, a lot of fans say they want ENIC out, they want to get Daniel Levy out. What is the alternative here?
To get someone in, listen, there's Americans, there's sheiks, if we have to do it the Chelsea and City way, so be it. But we need someone that comes in. Daniel Levy says he's a Spurs fan and he loves Spurs, and to an extent I believe that. But if I had his money, we'd be challenging for whatever my manager wanted. If I had it with my own money, he would have it. And surely as a Spurs fan, all of us would say the same. If we had his money, we would back our managers to succeed.
Yeah,
but
Levy, but to get a new chairman, right? Because Levy's done such a good job off the pitch. We're now probably worth around $2 billion or something like that. The club's worth. So we need a multi-billionaire to come and buy the club, and then not just buy the club. He has to invest a load of hundreds of millions into the playing squad to get where we want to be. Is that a realistic expectation?
Listen, COVID aside everything that's going on, there are people out there right now, not saying they're looking at Tottenham, I'm not saying that, but they can amply afford it. Do
you not think that if we got an offer of $2 billion, Levy and they would sell? Maybe they would.
I don't know. If you can find anyone that's got $2 billion, I'll go knock on their door and see if they'll buy it. I'll sell the club to them. Anything I need to do. Honestly, I've just had enough, and I cannot stand it that everyone says we've got this stadium that's going to play the nice players and pay for the nice players. They're not coming. Do you think Mourinho's going to get back with what he needs in the summer? Of course he's not. And if we can only use what we bring in, the players that we're going to try and sell have no value, and they're going to be worse than the what we paid for them, and we ain't going to be able to afford the players we want. End of. And if Kane goes, do you know what? Thanks for your service, mate. You don't deserve this crap. You're an absolute Tottenham till you die, and you do not deserve this.
All right, Brian, absolute pleasure. We're going to keep going, getting through the guests, but great, passionate call, and that's what it's all about. Tottenham till we die.
I'm going to go calm down in a dark room now. So
don't look in the mirror. You might punch it. I think if you looked in the mirror, you might break the mirror.
That's true. But guys, sorry for my outburst. And guys, you always, as you know, you are the greatest channel on YouTube. Everyone like, share, and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Thanks a lot, Brian, man. See you later.
Brian Daiglesman, they call you now. Brian Daiglesman.
Please, give me the job, and then I'll just kill him. The job's done. Perfect. See you later on, guys.
Nice one, Brian.
All right, that was a very, very passionate call from Brian. I want to hear from all of you guys out there as well. While you're here, do scroll down, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. We are on 600 viewers, so let's keep going. Who have we got next? And if any of you want us to react to any of your tweets, do tag us on Twitter, and we will go through them.
Why not? We can look at it.
Let's look at the tweet that we've been tagged in.
Where's it gone? Here it is. It's this guy, Ivanovsky, says, if we finish above 6th, then we will have overachieved. And he points to our wage bill. We currently have the 6th largest wage bill in the league. Currently about $1 million behind Arsenal in terms of total salaries. So in terms of that, everyone knows that we are very stingy on the wages, and we have this very strict wage structure that we don't tend to break.
Which they broke a few years back.
They broke for Harry Kane, and naturally they have to break it as the years, with inflation and everything, as the years go by. It has to be broken at some point. But I think the wages, it used to be a lot further away from Arsenal than we are now. Yeah, we're only $1 million away now. I remember we used to be like closer to like West Ham than we were to the top 4, but it doesn't seem to be the case anymore. But if we finish above 6, we would have overachieved, and we still got a chance to do that. So I mean, he's got a point, but I think that Levy would argue that a lot of clubs are probably spending an unhealthy amount on wages, and that we're spending the correct amount. That's what he would say. But
who are the teams above us? You've got Man United, Man
the top
City,
teams, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, City, United.
Yeah. So I mean, like, all these teams have historically bring in a lot more money than we have in the past. Only in the last year or two we've kind of matched them in terms of revenue.
And by how people speak, you'd probably think we're like behind the likes of like Everton and West Ham or not, but we're not. But we are 6th, and maybe we should be higher. But who are we going to be higher than? Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, City, or United?
No question am I saying that I'm pro Levy, pro ENIC, and all this kind of stuff. But I can see the good work that they have done in the club. I can see from where we were to where we are now. Are they the right guys to take us forward and like get us challenging for titles and getting us back in the Champions League final and that kind of stuff? No, I don't think they are. I don't even think it's a question. I don't think they are. But I can see the good work that they've done through this club, and they have done good work. And I think that when you look at their job as a whole, yes, they've done a good job. Are they right? Are they the right guys to kick us on and make us proper title challengers and getting us winning titles? Probably not.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're a bit behind, in their approaches, and I think they're stuck in back in the mid 2000s, where especially with prices and stuff like that. I don't think they've grasped how the modern football works and stuff like that, and that's why I think they're lacking, and they need to work on that. And
even when we say that they've done a good job, it's not that we're looking at the trophies we've won. It's not like we're looking at as a big picture from start to finish, where we were to where we are. So it's hard to say that they haven't done a good job. Yes, they've had their flaws and they've made their mistakes throughout their whole tenure. You know what I mean? Every year they've probably made massive, massive errors in terms of the footballing side of the thing. But that doesn't take away from the fact where we were before and where we are now.
Do you think they haven't shown enough ambition in the footballing side, or
100%.
do you think they don't care at all about the footballing side?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that they believe in their way, and I think they're persisting with it. I think that's what it is. I think that they do want to see success on the footballing side because they know if they see success on the footballing side, that will correlate to the business end as well.
So do you think they do care about success on the pitch?
I think they do, yeah.
Because I think each time, for example, like the Martin thing, Martin was, the way they handled that was atrocious and it was disgraceful. And you shouldn't handle a manager who did such a good job of your team. Sacking him at half time was shocking, but they replaced him with what in theory was Juan de Ramos, who had just won back-to-back Europa League titles. And I think it was with a view of maybe Ramos could take us on a bit and take us to another level. With
but there's a way to conduct yourself.
Huh?
There's a way to conduct yourself.
Oh no, I'm not. No, I'm saying regardless of that, I know that was horrific, but I'm saying the decision to bring him in was was with a footballing mind, because they could have kept Martin on, and we were having a bad start to the season.
You could say the same about Jose Mourinho.
Yeah, I think as well with Jose. I think it was with the view of getting a winner in and getting us to have more success on the pitch. I think a lot of the time it has been with a view to that. But on the flip side, I think they don't give them all the time. They don't give the managers the right conditions to be as successful as they can be. And whereas we're seeing other clubs really back their managers when they need it, we always seem to be lagging behind in that one, and that's the real frustration.
That's the issue. The issue is always getting to a certain stage and then kicking on, having the balls to actually invest the way you need to invest and kick on to be a proper club, which we know we can be. It's always, the kind of echelons are there, and we can't break that barrier. You know what I mean? So you got to point at the ownership for that. And that is a massive, massive flaw in kind of the way they run the club year on, year out, year after year. But like I said, it doesn't take away from the fact where you look at the bigger picture, where we were before, where we are now. But no one is saying that the way that they've conducted themselves under Harry Redknapp, under Villas-Boas, under Pochettino, even under Jose Mourinho, under all these tenures, there's no reason why we couldn't have kicked on, because we should have. They just lack the balls to do that, and they lack the football knowledge to do that.
All right, let's get Cody Mack on.
Cody Mack.
Guys, can you see me and hear me?
Yes, we can. How you doing?
There's a parrot in the background, I think.
I'm just sitting out here in balmy Canada. I don't know if you can see the snow.
Look at that. Beautiful.
Kieran Tierney, eat your heart out.
Where are you in the shorts? Are you in shorts and a t-shirt?
Yeah, I'm just catching some rays. So, listen, I think you guys are making some very good points, and I can understand Brian's frustration. It's maybe a little bit over the top for me, but like you guys have been saying, if you look at where the club was 20 years ago, like where would we have fit in terms of net worth worldwide in football 20 years ago, right?
Yeah. Well, how much do they buy the club for? Probably, I don't know, not 100 million, probably a lot less than that.
Right.
It's hard
so
to say,
overall, can you really judge the ownership group by the fact that we haven't really gotten over the line in some of these competitions? The reality is we have been put in a position to succeed several times and have just struggled to get that final push through. And yes, but I know what you're saying about like every time that we've had the opportunity to go to the next level, we really haven't done it. But you can't really expect owners to be investing billions of dollars or millions of dollars in infrastructure and also be investing hundreds of millions of dollars on the pitch at the same time. You could argue that if it weren't for COVID, that we would be working our way towards that next step in the process. It just might be taking a little bit longer than Tottenham fans want it to. But like, let me ask, how many clubs have won the Premier League in the last 20 years since ENIC took over? 6.
Not many.
Yeah.
6, yeah.
Six different clubs, right? And there's the big 5, and then
United,
there's Leicester,
Chelsea, Liverpool,
right?
Leicester.
Let me ask you
Arsenal,
this,
6.
okay? Of all the ownership groups in the Premier League, how many of them would you trade with?
Probably Man City, probably Chelsea, Liverpool. Those 3.
That's it?
So
So
who else
like
would I trade with?
you could argue Leicester, but like
Leicester
if we're
maybe,
gonna
yeah.
grade ENIC on a scale and use other management groups in that scale, the reality is they would be in the top half of ownership groups in the Premier League alone. Worldwide, you'd probably put them in the top 15 to 20%, you know? And listen, I'm not really qualified to offer that much of an opinion because I haven't been following the club ardently for the last 20 years. So I don't have that pent up frustration. I don't live in North London, you know what I mean? But listen, for the people who want ENIC out, I will say this. Be careful what you wish for, because there are way, way worse ownership groups across worldwide sport. We could be getting run into the ground right now. I mean, like you guys were saying earlier, you could look at the trajectory that when you compare us to a club like Aston Villa, right?
Yeah.
No, I
been up and
agree.
down for them.
That's true. Not long ago, especially when Levy took over us, we were very, very, very similar level to Aston Villa, and and Everton and those kind of clubs. We're a lot higher than them at the moment in terms of where the club's at, and being contenders and challenging for things. But for example, when Harry Redknapp is challenging for a league title back in 2012, and we just need one or two signings to really help us along the way into actually challenging the Manchester clubs for a title, he signs 2 free transfers in Ryan Nelson and Louis Saha, 2 players who are absolutely finished, and which is very, very cheap, and we released them 6 months later. That was the investment Harry Redknapp got, although crucial times. And Pochettino just finished second in his last season at White Hart Lane, and he really needed money to push on and challenge Chelsea and whoever, and Man City, whoever finished above us.
The most successful season at White Hart Lane ever as well.
Exactly. And what happened? We sell Kyle Walker. We sign like Llorente, and we don't really invest in the team. Like when we're really looking to push on and challenge for big things, we're always continually let down, and that's the big frustration, because of all the progression we've made, we can't make that extra step to actually find glory.
Yep. No, I totally agree. But, if you're looking in the long run of things, could you squint and see that maybe we're on the cusp of becoming that club now that we've got the infrastructure in place, now that we have a financially stable model? Would you trade Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for 1 Premier League title and you'd still be at White Hart Lane?
I think I might.
I would, yeah. I think I would.
I think I
would.
I think I might for a Premier League title, Take that stadium back, 30,000, lock those 30,000 fans out the ground.
No,
man.
but you know what? A lot of fans were saying at the time that we're moving at the wrong time, and we could, if we stay at White Hart Lane, if we stay at White Hart Lane, we can actually kick on and get this Premier League trophy and then move to the new stadium.
Yeah, true Tottenham Hotspur fashion, the timing of everything has been pretty poor, and COVID has probably put a dent in. I mean, every club has been affected by COVID, but I mean that stadium was meant to be a cash cow, and can we say that cash was going to go directly into the ownership's pockets, or were they going to invest it right back into the club? Who knows? But
I tell you what,
I think you guys.
What? Go on.
You guys just can't leave it alone. We finally get an international break where we can clear our minds of Tottenham Hotspur for a while, and we have that nice taste of the Villa victory in our mouths, and now look at us. We got the Bale news, we got the Davies news, and we're talking about ENIC. My God.
We're never gonna stop.
But yeah, no, but Cody, do you think, not that you say like which I kind of agree, if you give it a bit more patience, a bit more time, we've got the financial infrastructure. We just need to be more patient with the team, and those times will come. But the fact is, it has been 20 years. 20 years is a long time in football, and especially with footballers' careers and stuff like that, it's a lot shorter than that most of the time. And I guess the question is, how long do you give it? Before, like, if we haven't won a trophy in another 10 years, are we going to say, well, if we paid off the debt, then we'll come good, and then give another 10 years, we've paid off the debt and now we're going to start buying players, how long do you give it?
Well, I don't know the answer to that, but for everybody that's ENIC out, you just can't control who you're going to bring in next, and there's no guarantee that the next ownership group are going to do a better job in all facets of ownership than they have so far. So I have to hope personally, as a Spurs fan, that the foundation of a serial winning club is being laid right now. And maybe it's being delayed a little bit by the circumstances we're in. But yeah, how long do you wait? Really, we don't control any of that anyway. We're all Spurs till we die. It doesn't matter. But let's just hope that, really, we're not that far away right now. If we went and invested this summer properly, we would be in a challenging position. Absolutely. But yeah, I don't know what the answer is, but I'm certainly more fearful of a worse owner coming in.
All right, Cody. Absolutely great call. Thanks for calling in, man.
Nice one, Cody.
Okay. Glory.
See you in a bit, mate.
See you later.
And I think
Has he got horses in
Cody
the
has,
background there, Cody Mack?
I think there's a point there to be said that I think you're never as far away from glory as you think you are, and I think you're never as far away from crisis as you think you are as well.
That's definitely true under Daniel Levy.
Yeah, and I think with a bit more investment, we could definitely shoot up, and also with a couple more bad decisions, we could drop right down.
Spurs are always on the cusp of greatness and always on the cusp of crisis.
We've got a tweet here from Simon Stevens, says, ENIC have done a great job. Bad individual decisions over the years aside, they have taken us onto a whole other level. But where they have lost my support was by not backing Poch. ENIC asked for Champions League. Poch delivered, but they didn't. They let us down.
It's true.
It's
true.
on.
It's absolutely spot on.
Poch was absolutely. He did a phenomenal job. He was an ENIC wet dream. They couldn't have asked for a better manager than Pochettino. He
criminal
did
what they did to him. Absolutely criminal
what
what they did to him.
If they literally couldn't have done more with what he was given, Poch, and the fact that they didn't back him at the crucial times was really, really criminal. From ENIC. I've just got a little bit of breaking news. So we know Ornstein, he had those quotes a couple of days ago. I saw
someone talking about it in the comments. What's happened?
So basically, he said that he's heard from sources a couple of days ago that Kane wants to leave, and Levy will probably ask for 120 million, so it's unlikely. Well, he's now said something very different. Now he said. He's heard from quite a few contacts he's spoken to over the last 24 hours saying they think that Harry Kane is going to be at Tottenham for the rest of his career. So he's kind of changed his tune now from the last from what he said 48 hours ago. And from 48 hours ago, he's saying that he heard from contacts that Kane would like to leave. Now he's hearing from contacts that Kane's going to be here for the rest of his career.
Wow, very interesting.
So it maybe it's something that. After the Villa game, before the Villa game, and after the Villa game. I don't know, but I think that's quite interesting from Ornstein, and maybe a bit of backtracking from him terms of what he's
really interesting. But I think we need to talk about just pause on ENIC for a second. I think we need to talk about those Gareth Bale quotes as well today. Do you want to get them up?
Yeah. 1 sec.
Because these quotes really, I mean, I know you didn't have too much problem with them, but they really didn't sit right with me. And it seems as though from those quotes he kind of does want out, and he just using us as like a kind of training ground for the Euros.
I mean, I don't know, you've seen, if you look at the way he's said, like when you read the quotes like this, it seems like a statement. It's not him making a statement. He's asked a question about Spurs, he's asked a question about next season. What do you expect him to say?
That I would love to be here next season.
Well, he doesn't know that. Why say that and put in trouble things at Madrid? You know what I mean?
Like, things are dead for him at Madrid. They're dead.
Yeah, but in terms
he's not
of
getting back to anything at Madrid.
Like he's saying he doesn't, because he can't say that if he doesn't know we want him. He doesn't know if he wants to stay. Like it's all up in the air.
Why wouldn't he want to stay if he loves the club as much as he says he does?
Because maybe it's not working out. Maybe it's not working out with him, Mourinho, and he doesn't want to be here with Mourinho. I don't know.
Either way, I think you've got to show support for the club in the public. I mean, his time. Everyone knows him and Madrid are completely broken.
I don't know.
Him going back
very vague.
Him going back to Madrid is nothing. There's nothing in that. He's not.
I saw him, as in I watched the interview with him, and it was I don't know. He seemed very laid back. He seemed like a very vague comment. It seemed like one of kind of like he was. I reckon he was hoping it was going to be a bit of a throwaway comment, and people have jumped on it. I think. He should have
enough experience that he knows that nothing is ever a throwaway comment in football.
I mean, he hasn't really said much. He says, I came to Spurs to play football, but in the Euros I wanted to be match fit. The original plan was to only do a season at Spurs, and after the Euros I still have a year left in Madrid, so my plan is to go back. And then he says, I don't have any further plans other than that so far.
Well, first of all, why would his plan to go back to Madrid when he's so hated there and he hated
Because
being there?
He hasn't got a permanent deal yet.
And why? Well, he had the option for the second year though.
Yeah, he doesn't know if we're going to enact it.
No, but if he wants it, then he should be talking about it, or at least he doesn't have to say anything. If he, you know what I mean? Why does he have to say anything?
He's not saying anything.
He's saying he came here to get fit for the Euros, pretty much.
He says, I came to play football.
To get match fit for the Euros.
And to get but into the Euros, I wanted to be match fit, yeah. But he came here to play football. That's what he said.
He came here to get match fit for the Euros. He uses us as a training camp for the Euros. That's what he's saying.
You're reading into that. I mean, he's saying I came to Spurs to play football, but also I wanted to.
At the end of the day, I'm choosing to read into it. You're not choosing to read into it at all. So
I think there's not much to read into. He says he's just saying after the Euros, I'm going to go back to Madrid and we'll see what happens. That's all he's saying, really. I mean, there's a bit of, if you want to read into it, you can. I also think it's quite a vague statement that you could also take whatever you want from it, really. So look, yeah, I get what you're saying. I can get why people are a bit frustrated with that comment, but I think people are reading too much into it.
All right, well, let's get back to ENIC. Who we got on next? Luke Diamond.
Luke Diamond.
How you doing,
yes,
Luke?
Luke?
Hello. Yeah, I'm not too bad. I'm a bit happier than last time I was on here, actually. I've been calling about ENIC and being a good mood. I know it's not the point of the call him, but just from what you were saying, then I found that quite disrespectful. To be fair,
you as well found that disrespectful about Gareth Bale. You're saying,
yeah, because he's in a position at Madrid where if he would come out and say, "I want to stay at Spurs," and it didn't happen, he wouldn't have been going back to Madrid in a worse position than he would have been anyway.
Correct.
Because he's done that. So to say you love the club and when you come back, to then say the plan was only to do a year, it's just it didn't sit right with me.
Yeah, I'm feeling exactly the same as you. I'm feeling exactly the same with you in terms of Gareth Bale. But ENIC, what's your thoughts? Have they done a good job?
In some ways, they've done an amazing job. And then there's been some suspect decisions along the way, which obviously any fan would be unhappy about. But in terms of where we are now to we took over the club, we're miles ahead. There's no comparison.
Yeah.
We were mid-table team. Our highest finish in 10 years pre-ENIC was 7th. I think we only finished in the top 10 five out of the 10 years prior. And we were just a small market as well. We didn't have a massive global fan base like clubs like Liverpool and United. And it's like their whole plan is just to build us up and get us to a point where we're one of the top teams. And
then to let us down again.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's I think they have built us up quite well. I've seen lots of fans saying, "Oh, I don't care about the stadium, I like the stadium." But how do you buy these mega players and pay these massive wages unless you build the club up first? You have to get these things to get the revenue in. Yeah,
exactly. At the end of the day, if you want to be a self-sustaining model, you need the cash cows to bring it. You know what I mean, don't you?
Our operating income, I read earlier, is up 380% in the last 5 years, which is just nuts, isn't it, to be fair? We're now valued at just under $2 billion, and we're according to Forbes, which is nuts. But there have been points where they could have invested more, but then we don't know really what their full financial situation is like. You can't be a chairman. It doesn't matter how much money you have personally. You can't just chuck money into a club like you used to be able to. If Abramovich had taken over Chelsea now, he wouldn't be able to chuck the same money that he did initially. Man City done it, and they were under investigation. I don't know how they managed to get away with it, but they were a small market team as well. And now, since they've been looked into for financial fair play, the signings have started to drop a little bit. They can't afford Kane now. Whereas a few years back, they would have gone for Kane. And I think we're building ourselves to a point. That's why COVID has been such a letdown as well, because I genuinely thought the stadium's done. We were going to get massive influx in revenue from the stadium. The naming rights were done. I thought this was the point where they would have invested. It's just so happened that all this has popped up at the same time, which is going to.
So you reckon we've just been a bit unlucky with the whole pandemic and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think it's come. It's come at a bad time for everyone, but I do think this was the point where we would have kicked on a bit more than we have been, which is unlucky. But I do think there needs to be a change, though. Are you
ENIC out?
ENIC out. No, I'm ENIC different. I want ENIC to stay, and I want Lee to stay, but I'd like him to shift just to the business side, and I'd like someone else to come in and take over football operations. Because no one can knock Levy and ENIC for the business they've done for us in terms of valuation and stadium and training ground. We've gone from being a mid-table kind of, in the grand scheme of things, nothing club, to being, well, a European power club in terms of what we have now, infrastructure and valuation. So I'd like them to stay in the sense, but I do think there should be someone else a bit more football-minded to come in and take over the transfer situation and stuff like that.
All right, Luke, I think you're lagging a bit, so we're going to have to move on. But thank you so much for coming on, giving your views.
Boys.
Nice one. Cheers, Luke.
Who we got next?
All right, let's bring on
The Smasher.
the Smasher, Elias, a.k.a. Elias. One sec, just bring you on.
One
There you
second.
go.
There you
we
are. The Smasher, Elias.
What's up?
Thank you for your modding once again.
No problem. It's a pleasure.
Talk to
As
me.
always.
First of all, I want to get your answer on the Gareth Bell quotes. What did you make out of them first and foremost?
Honestly, I haven't seen them.
Okay, so we'll move on from there. Let's talk about ENIC then. Let's talk about ENIC.
Yeah.
Have they done a good job?
Honestly, this is a quite touchy subject for me because I am as old as ENIC has been in the club,
Right.
and it has just achieved one trophy. So I don't really know if that's a good achievement for them. But honestly, the last few years it has been a nice progression, and we have been in the Champions League many times and consistently fighting for the title. So I don't know, maybe it has been good in the last couple of years, but when I started supporting Tottenham, it wasn't even close. So it's a love and hate situation here.
What failings? What are the main failings for you that have ENIC done over their tenure?
Like we haven't spent enough money, I think, on the players we need the most. I feel like we should not spend on 20-30 million players, but like 70-80 million players, and then we would fight a lot for the Europe and the title, I feel like.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
But
in their self-sustaining model, can they afford really to be spending all this money when the risk potentially is that the club, if they don't achieve what they want with all the money spent, it could have big consequences? Did you see that kind of element to it as well?
I mean, we built a stadium for around $1 billion. So I mean, why couldn't we spend that on players instead?
But that's why we spent it on the stadium, because to become self-sustaining, so that we get more money through the gate, and then that hopefully in the future gives us more money to spend on players. That, I guess, is the thinking behind it.
Yeah.
Do you think that we shouldn't have bothered with the stadium and just spent all the money on players?
I feel like the stadium, if we had a less valued stadium, then it would be fine because it's such a valued stadium, and I believe it was quite overkill because we could have spent some of that money on some players instead, like some center backs, for example. And I'm not sure, to be honest. It's just my point of view because I have just witnessed one trophy in my life as a Tottenham fan, and it's quite a touchy subject.
But in terms of the structure, like if we could change it, if we could get some new owners, would you be in favour of that?
Yes, if a sheikh wants to come to Tottenham, sure, just go for it, man. I gladly want the sheikh to come into the club and start spending and invest in the players, because we need the players desperately to fight for trophies, fight for top four consistently, and I do believe the players are the vital clue here to be a part of a winning team.
Okay. Elias, always good to speak to you, mate. We'll have you
No
on
problem.
soon. Always a pleasure.
Yes.
Speak to you soon, mate.
Come on, you
Cheers for
Spurs.
coming on. Come on, you Spurs. Got a super chat here from Colin Lumsden. Said, sad thing is if they had sold when Roman wanted to buy our club, we would have got the Jose that came from Porto. That is, well, I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I think that is definitely true that if Roman would have bought us at that time, that would have been a massive, massive benefit to us. And it was such a shame that last-minute goal from Chelsea prevented that. And now we're in the situation we're in. We've got a few tweets. Let's look at some tweets, I guess. Bob Spur. As an experienced player, Bale should have known how his words would look. As Ben says, he should have said nothing. My question is, was Levy aware Bale would be using us as a training facility? If so, looking at wages, surely that was a poor financial decision. Yeah, it's looking like that at the moment, given how much he's given to the club. All he did was answer a question that was put to him for me. I don't know. He was asked about if he's thought about the summer next season, and all he said is, I don't know. I don't think he has said much, to be honest.
He's already burnt his bridges at Real Madrid before he came here. He burnt his bridges at Real Madrid the last 2 years. So surely if he has any interest in playing football, he'll be coming out in the press and talk. First of all, he shouldn't be saying anything anyway. But if he is...
So what? So
if
he's
let me finish. If he is talking, he should be saying, yes, I would love to be at Tottenham next year. I would love it. If they want me back, I want it. And I'll try my best to be back in this Tottenham side next year.
But he hasn't got any indication we want him, though.
Yeah, but it's regardless if we want him or not. If he loves the club, he should be fighting tooth and nail.
We've heard.
He should be fighting tooth or nail to be back here next year.
We've heard from Fabrizio Romano and other outlets that Spurs are not making a decision till the end of the season. So why would he make a statement before then?
It's not a statement. You're the one that's saying it's a passing by comment.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
If he wants to be here, then he should make it clear that he wants to be here. Why is he waiting for us to say if we want him or not? Why has that got anything to do with it?
Because he would need to feel wanted by the club.
Why? He's the one that loves the club. He's the one that loves the fans. He kept saying it over and over again, and now he's saying he wants to go back to Real Madrid and basically saying that he used us as a training camp for the Euros.
See, that's what you're reading into. You're completely reading into that. That's not what he said. All he said is the plan was to go to Spurs for a year, and now after in the summer, well, I'm going to go back to Madrid and we'll see what happens.
If he wanted to be here, he would say, "I would love to be back at Spurs." Why would he say I'm expecting to go back to Real Madrid when we've got the second year option?
Because we haven't agreed a deal.
Okay, but he should still say something like, "Oh, you know what? I'd love to stay at Spurs."
He's just keeping his options open. That's all he's
doing.
There's
no option open going back to Real Madrid. That's not an option for him.
Yeah, but other clubs as well. Like, he's just keeping his options open. He's not making any definitive statement. That's all that's happening. You want him to make a definitive statement saying, "I want to be at Spurs this year." All he's doing is not making a definitive statement.
He's all the time he's been talking about how much he loves the club. Why is he not talking about how much he loves the club now?
He wasn't asked how much he loves the club.
He's never been asked how much he loves the club.
Yes, he has. Of course he has.
No, he hasn't.
Every time he's asked in interviews, you love the club, your heart, how much you love the Spurs, how much it means to you.
He brings it up. He's talking about coming back to Spurs and how much the club means to him. Yeah. He always talks about that.
Yeah,
and
because
now,
he's asked about it.
So you're saying there's nothing at all to read into these comments. They're just passing by comments. Gareth Bale loves the club. He wants to be here. He's not using this club as a training ground for the Euros.
All he's saying is he's keeping his options open. We can all just know right now, as things stand, that the loan deal hasn't exactly worked out to what we had hoped. So now, right now, as things stand, his options are open. He's not making. Spurs haven't made a definitive statement on him saying we definitely want you for next season. So he's not going to make a definitive statement saying I definitely want to be here next season.
He should be fighting tooth and nail to be here for next
He
season.
should be, but I don't know if he is or he isn't. It doesn't look like he is. But from that statement, there's nothing. All he is saying nothing. He's not saying anything with that statement for me.
I think it's not just that statement. It's that he's been taken out of the team as well, and this is all very in a timely fashion, isn't it?
Because he's away at international, and he's asked the question, "Have you any thoughts of the summer?" He's pretty much saying no. That's pretty much what he's saying.
Let's see.
He haven't
After
thought about the
this
summer.
Euros, this guy's career is done.
Yeah, probably.
Exactly, as Ashley says, so fans should be happy that Gareth Bale is trying to keep his options open when he loves us so much, yeah?
All right, so you have a right to be pissed off at that. Fair enough. You do. One sec. Lewis, one sec. There is a time for his form to pick up again towards the end of the season. However, so far this season, he hasn't done enough for me. That's on Gareth Bale. Ali Hassan says, Gareth Bale answered the question put to him. Honestly, there's literally nothing else he could have said. If he knuckles down and really tears up the Prem, Spurs are likely to offer him another year or more. I'm just reading the tweet. I'm not picking out anything. I'm just reading tweets that are coming through. Michael, no, that's different. I think that's...
How many guests we've got?
Yeah, I think that's it, pretty much. And okay. Tanguy Mourinho says, Wales, Golf, Madrid, Spurs. All right.
All right, Charlie.
Let's get him on.
How you doing, Charlie?
Yeah, good, guys. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good, thanks. So... This started off as an ENIC debate, 20 years of ENIC. It's turned into a Gareth Bale and ENIC debate. So let's start off with Gareth Bale and what you make out of those comments.
Of course, yeah, the comments that have come out while he's been on international duty. Yeah, I think as a fan's perspective, I think it's quite disappointing to hear, really, because for a player like Gareth Bale, as you were saying, Ben, a guy that's come out and said how he loves our club, loves the fans, and when he came back, how he said he was delighted to be back. I think by him saying that, for me, the part that sticks out, the one quote is, "My plan is to go back." That's the one that sticks out for me, because that's him. That you could look at it in two ways. Like, you could look at it in the way that he's just, as Sim said, he's just keeping his options open, or you can look at it in a way where that's what he wants to do. He wants to go back. He doesn't want to remain at Spurs. So, look, for a player like Gareth Bale, I think I hate it. To be fair, I hate it when players come out and talk in the press like you saw with Eriksen that time before he left. That pissed me off when Eriksen did that, when he came out saying that I want a new challenge, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, maybe that is the case, and that's fine, but just keep it privately. That's all I'm saying. And I feel with Gareth Bale, he could have just said to me, like, yeah, look, I'm happy right now at Tottenham, but we'll see where we are at the end of the season. For me, that's what he could have said. He didn't need to say stuff like,
that is pretty much what he's saying.
Yeah, well, as I said, you can look at it in two ways, and I think we can all look at it in our own way. But for me, just to hear him come out and just go into that much detail about the situation, I think, and was just didn't sit right with me, really, to be honest. That's how I see it.
I don't think he's gone into any detail.
No, like he was saying, like how his plan is to go back. Like as I said, you can look at that. No,
he said because because after the loan deal, he has to go back, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's a weird.
Unless we sign him permanently.
Yeah, well, we've got the second option for the loan, so
yeah, that's up to us, isn't it?
It is.
If we've put it to him, then he can say he can come back.
Yeah, but surely it's up to him and his application if he stays or not. Because obviously, if he shows the application and we know what Gareth Bale can turn up, we know that he's a top quality player on his day. We know that if he shows the application, the effort, the desire, we'll take him on for that second year. We know that, but he's not showing that.
Okay, yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah,
I'm just saying there are people reading. I think people in these statements, because he's look. I get it. Fans want him to say, "Oh, well, I'm going to be here next year and I'm going to fight for everything." But it's not the setting for that. It was just on international duty. He was just asked, "Eddie, what are your plans for the summer?" And I think he was just giving a vague answer, and people are running with it.
Yeah,
that's why I see it.
Yeah, like as well, I'll just add one more thing. I think, as Ben said, he should be trying to fight for the second year, to be honest, because as you said, him and Madrid, that relationship is just broken. Like, let's be honest, he's had his shirt number taken away. I think Asensio's got it now, and it just came to an end. It was the end of a cycle with him and Madrid. So I think at the end of the day, he should be fighting to try and stay at Spurs, because why would he want to go back to Madrid if like everything's broken there? So he should be trying to do everything he can to stay at the club.
I also think if you read the quote, it comes out as much more of like a statement of what he's intending, as opposed to if you actually watch the interview, I think you'll get a different impression of what he actually means by his words. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Let's move on to ENIC though. I want to know your overview. Oh, yeah, a lot less controversial view. I want to know your opinions on ENIC, because obviously there's two ways of looking at their tenure. Obviously, the way they've built the club up of the past 20 years has been a phenomenal job. They've built us up from a perennial mid-table mediocrity to challenging for titles. Okay, well, a couple seasons challenging for titles, but regular European football, regular Champions League football, higher skill set, a higher quality of playing staff. However, hasn't led to any silverware, hasn't led to any tangible success in terms of winning trophies and stuff like that. Where do you fall on ENIC's tenure over 20 years?
Well, obviously, I think on a number of channels this season, particularly, really, I've said about ENIC how they've let us down in big moments, as you were saying. That's how I see it. When it comes to the big moments, the crunch time, they let us down every single time. Like you said, the way they treated Yol, the way he got sacked at half time, that was before my time, but I've heard all about it from other family members, and it really was disgraceful. You look at the way with Redknapp and stuff, we were sort of under Redknapp. We were kind of in a title challenge that season, and in January he wanted Tevez and Cahill. He gets Saha and Nelson, which for me, just that's one of the many moments which you can just sum them up really as a board, because like you look at Joe Lewis, all right, the guy's worth $4 billion. He's put zero money into the club. Just to put that into context, us as fans have put more money into the club than this owner. And for me, that's the biggest problem, the lack of investment when we've really needed it at times. Like you were saying, like how it's come too late, and it really has come late, because we needed it at the right time when we were going into the first season at Wembley. We really needed it then. And I think another interesting thing as well, which I don't think is talked about enough, is the recruitment and the people that they're employing on that front when it comes to recruiting players. Because you look at it, Paul Mitchell was the perfect man for us, and yet he resigns and says he can't work with this board. And I think that says everything you need to know. You look at who we're stuck with now, that absolute fraud, Steve Hitchin. Genuinely, he does not have a clue what he's doing. As I said to you on one of the other streams, over £405 million has been wasted on flops since this board have come in. And I think that says everything you need to know. So the recruitment, for me, the people that they're employing there is one of the big issues. I think another one that isn't talked about enough as well is the refusal to take loss on players. I think that has really held this club back for a number of years. We talk about the problems we've had this season of bad apples in the squad, players that we really just need to get rid of, that have gone stale, that have stagnated, and just need to be on and shouldn't be anywhere near our club anymore. And I think that comes down to the board, the fact that they've just expect to get top dollar for average players. It doesn't work like that. That's the thing. And we've come to a point now where we really need to offload a number of players. I'll probably say at least 5 players we need to get rid of come the summer. And I think my worry would be is if we can't get rid of them, we know what the reason will be, and that's because of the refusal to take a loss. Like you're hearing. Well,
1 second, Charlie. If you think back at when we spent all that money on the Gareth Bale money, right? We got all those 7 players that we replaced Gareth Bale with. Like I'm pretty sure we took a loss on every single one of those players that we signed.
Well, they were
apart from or even Ericsson, you'd probably say we took a loss because he was sold pretty cheap. I think like Paulinho, Capu, Chiriches, Soldado, we took a loss on all of them.
They were probably forced to in the end, and I think it will hopefully get to that point where their hands kind of forced to take a loss. But when it comes to players, you look at you look at Sanchez, right? A player that all of us have said that we wouldn't be against him going in the summer. Yet we hear Ali Gold come out and say stuff like, "Oh, we're not going to accept less than the 40 million we paid for him." Like, what's that all about? You have to be realistic in these things. You can't expect to get all your money back on every single player to the full extent. And I think that's why the likes of, as we've talked about, Ben Davies, Eric Dyer, Musa Sissoko, these guys have been here way too long. And I think I refuse to believe that no one's come in for, like, you look at Sissoko. We bought the guy for 30 million. we could have sold him. I know he had that one good season, but I remember the season after we didn't sell him, and that may be because we refused to take a loss. And I think that's the biggest issue as well, that they don't see it in a football side. They see it as a business where their ego and their arrogance just sort of stagnates the progress of the club. And that's when it comes to taking a loss. They refuse to accept that they're wrong. They refuse to accept that they've made a mistake. And I think that's been our biggest problem, that they don't want to take responsibility for some of the mistakes they've made. And I think it comes down to the fact that, like, we haven't seen any apologies after the recent performances from players that shouldn't be here, as we know. You look at back onto the board, you look at just the way they've allowed us to stagnate and not back Poch, and the fact you saw what Poch done, turned water into wine, literally, sort of, and he squeezed every ounce of energy out of players, which at the end of the day he probably wanted to. Well, he wanted to get rid of them long before that we even thought of getting rid of them. So I think that was that for me, that's the thing that really just angers me about them, and I'm not sure if I can really ever forgive them for the fact that they allowed us to stagnate, which we're still in this problem at the moment. They've allowed us to stagnate, and we're in this situation where we have to get rid of a number of players, and we essentially have to pretty much start again in a way, in terms of we have to stop. We're sort of in a similar situation now to where we were at the beginning of Poch, where we have to get rid of a number of players which don't want to be here. They're happy to collect their wage and just completely refresh the squad and bring through younger players. And I think we wouldn't be in this situation if they had actually kicked on. We wouldn't be having to start again. We would be probably up there with the likes of City and stuff. If we had actually kicked on, we wouldn't be in this problem, because a lot of those players would have been gone by now. Let's have that right. If they're just accepted to take a loss, sometimes a lot of them wouldn't be here. We'd have probably fresh players that are top quality, and we'd probably be in a much better position. But look, the fact that, like, in terms of the trophies, look, I'm that annoys me as well. Just the fact, one League Cup in 20 years, not good enough whatsoever. You look at if we had really, in terms of, you were saying, is it their fault that we sort of lost all these semi-finals? And I think, for me, what I would say is that in terms of mentality, because that's what we always say, the reason why we haven't been able to get over the line is one of the reasons is because of the mentality in the team. And for me, the mentality, it stems right from the top. The way this board operate, with the lack of ambition, the lack of investment, that stems all the way down throughout this club to the chairman, from the owner to the chairman, to the players, to the manager, to the coaches, to the laundry people, whoever it is, right? The mentality at the club stems from the top, and I think that's the case that I'm going to make for the fact that why we haven't got over that line in all these cup finals and stuff, because the weak mentality of the club for many years has been stemming from the top, and right now it's rotten to the core.
Are you ENIC out, Charlie?
Yeah. I've been ENIC out for a long time now, because as I said, I've just never really forgiven them for just letting us stagnate to the point. I think, for me, if you look at the 20 years out of despite all the good work they've done, which they, don't get me wrong, I will give the likes of Levy credit for the way he's built us up from, as I said, bottom half club in the table before they took over to sort of being nearer the top. I will give them credit for that, but for me, the worst thing they've done in that, I don't know about you guys, but for me, the worst thing they've done is not backing our arguably greatest ever manager in the Premier League era in Pochettino. For me, that will be very difficult for me to forgive, because it's costing us as we speak right now. It's costing us to this day. And for me, like, as you said, not spending anything in one window. And for me, that's the fact that I can't forgive that easily is why I've been ENIC out for a while now.
I mean, it's totally criminal, isn't it? The way they conducting themselves under Pochettino, or maybe 2 years into the Pochettino reign. I mean, it's completely criminal, and I don't think that it's hard to see how they get the fans back on side unless they completely back Jose Mourinho this summer. Do you think if they do completely back him this summer, is that redemption for you?
It will be difficult to say, really, because what backing Mourinho can be sort of people might see it in different ways. For me, to back Mourinho, you have to get in the defenders that we need, but at the same time, you have to get out these absolute poisons we've got at our club at the.
I'm talking about the whole package. I'm talking about the whole package.
Oh, yeah.
If they get out the 5 or 6 or 7 players that we need to get out and bring in the players that we desperately need, the centre backs, right back, maybe another centre mid, is that redemption for you?
I wouldn't say full redemption because you look. Obviously, I'd credit them for it. I'd be happy because that's what we need. But if you think about it, right, if they had actually done that before with Poch, we might be sitting here with maybe a Premier League, a Champions League, and a couple of cups. You know what I mean? So for me, look, we need Jose to get backed because for me, no matter what manager we have come the summer, because it very might well be someone else. You never know. But despite who it is, and I want Jose to be back. That's what I want in an ideal world. I want us to properly back Jose, get his players in, and then sort of go and be successful. But and for me, that's the only way we move forward this summer. We back Jose, we get rid of these poisons, and we bring in proper players, proper players, the likes of Skriniar, Milenkovic, Sabitzer. Bring back the likes of Skip, who I think will be a very good addition for us, to replace that absolute waste man Winks, who I cannot stand the guy genuinely, and he's another guy that's stagnated at this club, and this board have held on for too long. Like they could have got 40 million from City or something.
That was never a viable option. Surely.
I don't know. You never know. I can't remember who was reporting it, but it was being bandied around a lot.
Yeah, I remember in the summer at the time. But look, it says a lot about Harry Winks when even this guy over here wants him out.
Yeah. Listen, as I said, I think his mentality is just nothing short of a disgrace, quite frankly. And as I said, that stems right from the top. The fact that this guy's been very comfortable at our club. You look at someone like Sissoko as well, who, by the way, how has that guy been called up to the France squad? Seriously, same with Eric Dyer in the England squad. How have these guys?
Sissoko must have something over Deschamps. He must know something that we all don't. You know what I mean?
Like Mourinho does with Dyer. Up until recently, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, look, we need.
Yeah. No.
All right, Charlie. Thanks a lot for coming on, man, and really, really good call, really good points.
Nice one, Charlie. Oh,
cheers, guys.
Still there.
I think there was a bit of a lag there at the end. I'm not too sure what happened.
Time is of the essence. With a super chat says John Terry, when he was in the fringes in 2015-2016, cried, expressed his love for the club and wished to stay on. He stayed in 16-17. Bale is wrong here because I mean,
it's a different situation.
Bit of a different situation. I'm just feeling like imagine if Bale said, "I really want to stay and I'm going to fight tooth and nail to stay," and then we don't take up the option. Would that not be embarrassing for him?
Would it not be embarrassing? Well, it's embarrassing the way he's conducting himself.
I know, but at least now he might say like, it was my decision to leave or something. You know
Look,
what I mean?
everyone knows anything can happen in football. So if you want to be somewhere and you come out and openly said you love the club so much, I love the fans. This is the place where I'm happy. I want to go back to where I'm happy. Why would you not want to stay where you're happy?
He might want to stay, but he's just keeping his options open.
But why is he keeping his options open?
Because we might not.
And anyway, even if you stay at Tottenham,
we might not take up the option.
Even if you say you love the club and want to stay at Tottenham and we don't take up that offer, it's not like his options suddenly diminish. Like the same clubs that are going to be interested in him are still going to be interested in him.
I know, but then they're going to wonder if he really wanted to stay and we didn't take up the option. Why? Like maybe there's look. I think the agent, obviously, there's agents and stuff also involved in this. Like. Coaching him what to say and what we know what a tricky customer Jonathan Barnett can be. I just think he's trying to keep things vague on purpose. I don't think he's committing to anything right now. That's just how it is. I've got a feeling that look, he knows we're not going to take up the option, so why declare that he really wants to stay? That's what I got the feeling. But anyway, we got another tweet here. It says Marlon THFC, 3 reasons why I am against Levy. Number 1, Martin Yole at half time. Number 2, Carrick. To be fair, this summed up the next 20 years. And number 3, not backing Poch. World class the year we left for Wembley. Absolutely spot on all those 3 points for me. Well, selling Carrick, apparently Carrick put in a transfer request. So it was, I guess,
Carrick, there was no chance
there was no chance of keeping Carrick at that time. But I do take you, I think you're spot on on the other 2 points.
But we should have got more money for Carrick.
Yeah, we only got 18 million. He was a much better player back then. He became an unbelievable player for Man United over the next 10 years.
But also, when a player wants to leave, it's very hard to kind of keep him. You know, no one ever mentions Luka Modric and the great work that Daniel Levy did with Luka Modric because, you know, it was quite evident that he wanted to leave to go to Chelsea. And Daniel Levy said, no, you're staying for another year and we'll let you go next summer. He ended up getting less money so he can go abroad. So that surely shows he cares about the footballing side.
Interesting. David Ornstein, someone commented underneath. So someone commented the quote. He's saying quite a few contacts I've spoken to in the last 24 hours or so think Harry Kane will be at Tottenham for the rest of his career. And someone commented on that saying, but Ornstein said on Sunday that Kane wanted to leave Spurs. And then he commented on that saying, no, I didn't.
But he did.
He did say that, didn't he? He did say Kane wanted to leave Spurs. Now he's denying saying that.
He said it on Sky Sports.
Yeah, I'm so confused. He says, no, I didn't. And then someone said, you basically did. And he says, no, I really didn't. Okay.
I don't know,
Seems
man.
to be denying
Anyway, we got Alex. Before we get Alex on, everyone go and scroll down, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. It really helps us with the algorithm. So it costs you absolutely nothing, guys. So just scroll down, smash that like, and I can see Alex is scrolling down right now. He's smashing that like as we speak.
Of course he is.
So let's get him on. Alex, how you doing, mate?
Different camera angle, I think that's probably for the best. I think you're on mute.
You're on mute, Alex.
There you go.
Ashley says in the comments, David said that the general consensus was that Kane wants to leave Spurs.
I think that was the words he used. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that was what he says. That was what he said, to be fair. So maybe he's right in saying that. Alex, is this a strategic camera angle shift?
No, I'm at a different house today, so I'm on my
different house.
Yeah,
I see. It must be a lot messy if you don't even want to show it. You can't even bear showing the background. It must be ridiculous.
It's actually not that bad. Yeah, it's not too bad.
Who's got their house in order more, you or ENIC?
That says a lot.
But what's your general overall view of their 20 years in charge of Spurs?
I mean, since I've been coming on your show for a couple of years now, I've been, we've had conversations about it, and it's interesting to see how my opinion's kind of changed over the last couple of years about ENIC. Definitely, I think it's difficult because I think there's two different aspects. You've got the sport side and the business side, and the thing about football and business is the two interrelate, don't they? And there's interplay between the two, and each affects the other. On the business side, I think I honestly can't see an argument that is valid. They haven't done an incredible job, absolutely incredible job with the business side of the club. I think I know COVID. We hope at least will go in the next couple of years. It'll hopefully be out of our sight. And from there, after this sort of interval, you could say, at the stadium not being full or have anyone in it, you can see the business will take off much more. You'd hope. In that respect, they've done brilliantly, and I give full credit to them. Sports side, however, I mean, I think what sums it up is just the season where we just didn't sign anyone. But was it 18 months? Not a single signing.
Mm-hmm.
Criminal. It's absolutely criminal that you do that. I remember after that summer, I was furious because, and the thing is, the problem is that first up until Christmas, up until January, actually, that season we were doing really well. We were doing pretty damn well in the league, but it was in January where it kind of all fell apart, and that was where we had a lot of injuries, and it's where the Pochettino, I say, kind of started being on its last legs. And that really covered up how bad of a summer it was. There were these arguments saying, it helps the team be more cohesive if you don't buy anyone or whatever. But I think that was absolute rubbish at the time, and it was absolutely shambolic. I mean, there have been so many times throughout the years where they just haven't invested. I mean, people have mentioned, the Redknapp era, for example. Obviously Pochettino, as just key examples where they just haven't invested. I'm not one of those that says, I think they should be investing hundreds of millions into the club and we should be like Man City, because unfortunately that's just not how. That's irregular in the world of football. That's a tiny minority, and it's not the owner's fault. It's hard. I'm trying to put it across in a way. It's not the owner's fault that's not the way they choose to run the club, if that makes sense. Sustainability has always been the number one thing for Tottenham Hotspur. That's always been how the club has wanted to be run, for example. If that's how they choose to run the club, then so be it. But obviously that doesn't take into account times where they clearly made mistakes. Jack Grealish, for example, had the money, massive mistake, missed out on him. Sporting mistakes, recruitment mistakes, and that is all that together, I think, in my opinion, gives a damning representation of ENIC's management over the club for the past
20 years now.
Yeah. And it leaves me just thinking they really need to go at some point. And the problem is, as a fan base, we can't force them out. I feel. I don't think the fan base has the vocality, if that makes sense, to force them out. I don't think we're that kind of fan base.
Do you think they're worthy of protests? Sorry, I said sorry, Alex. Apparently, I can hear you. Apparently, they can't hear you in the chat. That's what they're saying. Maybe they're saying they should put your microphone closer to your mouth. Maybe that'd be better. But that's sorry. Some people in the chat are saying they can't hear you. Apologies about that. But I can hear you. I don't know what the problem is.
No, it's okay. Wait, one sec.
Go to someone else and we'll try bringing back on.
Well, can you do that?
Huh?
All right, Alex. We're gonna go to someone else. We'll bring you back on in a minute. Oh, now I can't hear you at all. All right, we're gonna bring you back on in a sec. We're gonna go to someone else though.
Go to David.
All right, David Harris.
Yeah.
Yes, let's get David Harris on. David, how you doing? Oh, you're on mute, mate. You're on mute, I think. Oh, no, still can't hear him. Is there a problem there? I can't hear him. 1 second, mate. Sorry about this. 1 sec. It might be Ari. There you go. I can hear myself, though. 1 sec. Go on. 1 sec, David. Wait, speak, David. No, I can't hear him. I can only hear me. Can you hear? Can people in the chat hear him? Sorry, we're having some problems. Go on, David, speak.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear him. Come on. Big up, David.
How are you getting on, Mr. Bond?
Look, I'm not happy with Austin Powers, but I'll take Mr. Bond. I'll take that any day of the week.
I'll take Tony Montana any day, David. You know that.
That was a good one. I was a bit jealous when I seen that one. Austin Powers, I thought it was a bit harsh on him, though.
Very harsh.
Bob for
I did used to love Austin Powers when I was younger, to be fair, but I much prefer Roger Marshall, Sean Connery than Michael Myers. Come on, man. Have some respect. But David, let's get your opinions. First of all, what is your opinions on the Bale quotes? What do you read out of them?
Look, to me, to be honest with you, it sounds like he kind of used Tottenham for the Euros, in all honesty. Look, he knew coming to Tottenham was going to take him 4, 5, 6 months to get up to fitness. So if he wasn't coming here as a 2-year plan, then for me, it's clear as day as he used us. And I just want to send out a message to Bale. If it's not Wales, Tottenham, golf, Madrid, but then he can fuck off back to Madrid.
Well, let me just read out this opinion from Cody Mack. He's tweeted us. He says, if Bale and Spurs openly express desire for him to stay, it only gives Real Madrid leverage. Bale holds all the cards. He's basically saying to Madrid that they'll have to pony up his wages in the end. Ben and Sim both have good points on how you can read into it. Do you think there's some truth in that?
Look, there is, but I'm not being funny with everything going on around at Tottenham at the minute. They're not the right noises to be making. Look, he's been a professional for long enough now to be able to know when there's noises like that around the club, you just stay put. Look, he couldn't help himself at Madrid. You know, he was damaging his reputation at Madrid. And in all honesty, I don't think he's helped himself here. Whether it was to do with, having a dig at Madrid and whatever else, it doesn't matter. He needs to think about the club that he supposedly loves, that he's made all this stuff he talks about. He's supposed to be at a club that he loves, so he's not helping Tottenham. And that's the
right,
thing.
but what if his agent has told him, look, Spurs aren't sure if they're going to take the second option, so it's best just to keep your options open. If you're asked about the summer, just say, at the end of your loan, go back to Madrid and see what happens, and just keep your options open. Would that not be the most sensible thing if they're not sure if Spurs want the second option?
They couldn't hear.
It probably would, but look, being honest, he'd definitely end up out in China or somewhere like that anyway, or some rich club out in Russia. He's always going to get a club.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying, I understand fans' frustration. I'm a bit frustrated
But
as
wait
well.
a second. What is the leverage that Real Madrid will have?
Because if they know Spurs really want him, then they might say we're not going to pay any more of his wages.
But the deal's already been made, I thought.
It's an option, I think. It's not like...
yeah, but the deal's already been made for the second year.
I don't think it's an automatic clause. I think we have first option or something like that.
Yeah, but I thought the split was gonna be the same as the first year. I thought that was pretty much.
I think maybe you're right. But I'm saying.
So there's no leverage in there whatsoever.
I'm saying if his agent is telling him, no, let's say Spurs aren't sure about the second year. Like, we don't know if they're not sure about if they're going to opt to it at the end of the season. And so if surely Jonathan Barnett would probably tell him, look, Spurs aren't sure about this. We don't know where you're going to be next season. It's best just to keep your options open if you're asked about it. Would that not make sense?
But like the MLS or the Chinese league or some rich club in Russia, like, he's not going to be stuck for an option regardless of the situation come the summer.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
that's what he's saying.
This options open thing is bullshit, because if you say you love Tottenham, that you have been saying since you've joined or since just before you've joined, then you carry on, stick with the same story.
He didn't say I'm not coming
you know
to Tottenham next season. He said at the end of the season, I'm going to go back to Madrid and see what happens. That's all he said. He didn't say I'm staying at Madrid. He didn't say I'm going to be playing football in Madrid. He just, I don't know.
But everyone knows that him at Madrid is completely dead. Everyone knows that. Mm-hmm. So for me, it just fills me with bad vibes, that all the comments that he was saying there, and it doesn't sound like that he does want to come back here. It doesn't sound like that we want him back here anyway, but that's not the point.
That's the thing, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Don't know if we want him back. That's my point. All right, but David, we're talking about ENIC. This was an ENIC live stream. Still is. I want to know your opinion on ENIC's, because I think no one can dispute from and off the field what a good job they've done building the club to where they are now. In terms of, we're now one of the big clubs in the Premier League. I think we're very much more attractive team to be at. I think players much more want to come here. We've got Mourinho in charge, world-class manager. We've got an amazing stadium, amazing facilities. The budget, the balance sheet is very, very healthy from Levy's point of view. A lot of profits. But what's something wrong with my mic? On the field, only one trophy in 20 years. What's going on? People saying like my mic is it off? No? 1 second, sorry.
Yeah, you've gone a bit lower.
I've gone a bit lower. Sorry, 1 sec.
I can hear you perfect there, Benji.
You can hear me. All right. So like on the pitch, I want to know from you. How much of a failing has it been from ENIC on the pitch? Because they have brought us up from a mid-table club to a club regularly in European football.
Yeah.
But we haven't taken the extra step. But is that extra step ENIC's fault? Is it up to them to take the extra step, or is it on the people they employ?
No, look, ultimately, I think no matter who they employ, I think every decision around the club ultimately comes down to the ownership. That's just my opinion. It's the same as owning any business. Ultimately, any failings as you're doing within that business. In terms of Levy and ENIC, it's a tough one for me, lads, because look, from when I was on the terraces as a kid, getting slagged as a kid compared to where Tottenham were, compared to where they are now, you can't really complain. Like, they took us to that next level. Like, as a kid, all I wanted to ever see was Tottenham in the Champions League, playing European football, making Champions League final. And in terms of that, they've done that. But, when we reach that stage, fans' expectations start to grow. Expectations around what you should be achieving each season start to grow and start to become more demanding. And as the fans have become more demanding, Tottenham haven't. And that's just my opinion on it. They haven't took that next step. They haven't made that next business model to be able to take us to the next step. Like, ultimately, the recruitment has been poor. especially over the last while, to be honest. I'd say last
Since
probably
Paul Mitchell's
3-4
left, really.
years. They've
Since
failed to
Mitchell left,
rotate
really.
the squad. Sorry?
No, I was saying it's since Paul Mitchell was left, really.
Yeah, since Paul Mitchell has left. And look, they just haven't took that next step in terms of where they want Tottenham to be. And for me, it's a strange one, because when we had the likes of Luke and Modric and all that, we were acting like a big club, but now we're not. I think this summer is going to be very important for ENIC. I think with the Jose Mourinho appointment, I think it took a lot of slack off them in terms of, you know, people really looking at what was going on at the club after Pochettino. I thought, look, they should have backed Pochettino in the first place. I think Pochettino should still be here. The reason why I don't want Jose Mourinho to go is because I definitely don't think he's the problem. I do think if you give him the money, he's the right man. And I think it comes to a point. Look, ultimately, I do probably think they're going to get rid of Mourinho. But it's going to come to a point when they get the next manager in, the same thing is going to happen. Then the rest of the fan base is going to unite as one, and they're all going to end up talking about what's going on at the club in terms of board level, football side of things. Because, look, the business side of things is perfect. But ultimately, they've gone too far one way. They've completely neglected the football side of it. And at the end of the day, we're a football club. And in football, people want success and they want trophies. Now, they put the foundations in, but they haven't followed it through 100%. And they're at a point where they have to now. I think, look, come the summer, they have a massive chance to turn all this around. I think if they keep holding Mourinho, they have Sessegnon coming back in, Skip coming back in. That frees up two of the toxic players to get out straight away. That also frees up money then for Jose Mourinho to bring one or two in straight away. And then after that, if you can get another 2-3 out throughout the rest of the window, and you can get another couple in, I think next season could be a different season altogether. I think we'll have a much more better squad to work with than what we have. I think a lot of the toxic players who clearly just don't want to be here, and I'm sorry, Sim, but Winks is one of them now. But
no, I agree.
Sim's on board now, David. Don't worry, he's on board.
He's on board. He never asked me for a ticket on the train.
I snuck on. Don't you worry. I haven't paid my fare. Maybe
I know. I'd never charge you, Sim. But no, look, I do think they have a chance to get it right this summer. But this summer is a massive one for them. They can either restore the reputation, or else they can ruin their reputation and ruin Tottenham's reputation. Because anyone looking at it from the outside in, ultimately after Mourinho goes, you know, they're going to look at it and say, well, Pochettino and Mourinho aren't our managers, two of the most revered managers around the world. So what the hell is going on at the club, at board level, and on the football and decision-making going on at the club?
But Levy will probably argue in the past two summer windows, Tottenham, I think, are the highest net spenders in the Premier League. So he'll probably argue, since we moved into the stadium, they have taken a new approach in terms of spending. They have kind of opened the checkbook a bit. And it's not his fault completely anyway. If it did go wrong, what would you say to that?
Look, they can say they open the checkbook. When it comes down to signings, what I've noticed and what I kind of judge my decision on is the Lo Celso Fernandes deal, where we could have got Bruno Fernandes, but we ended up taking up the option for Lo Celso. So, like, we don't tend to sign players with a great mentality. They're just happy-go-lucky. They never really come out and speak about the club. And anyone that does, they're out here. They're called a problem. But what I'm seeing over the last year and a half is, you know, even before Mourinho came in, Kane was making sounds of leaving with that Redknapp interview. Hugo Lloris is making sounds now. Now, you know, ultimately, I do think the fans are going to believe Kane and Hugo Lloris. You know what I mean? And like, they're going to have no leg to stand on, because these are two players that we all know could go on to the next level, win trophies. And, you know, they've given so much dedication to Tottenham, and ultimately they've been failed by the business. But, you know, with the player mentalities, like, we're not saying, like, if we would have brought in Bruno Fernandes wouldn't be sitting there this season very quiet at Tottenham. I can tell you that. And you know that by the way he is on the pitch. Anyone that's watched him, he snaps, he snarls. He wants to be a winner. He was only at the club and he caused a rift at half-time in the dressing room. You know what I mean? Because he wants to win. You know, and that's the difference in the mentality of the players we're signing. I firmly believe that when they look at players, I think they're looking at, I think they check them out. And if they're quiet players, I think they bring them in, because ultimately they know they're not going to speak out about the board. I think there is something to do it. But then you know, you look at some of the signings, they haven't really signed for the here and now, though, have they? Because whoever done their homework on Ndombele, there's no doubt Ndombele has so much potential, but he wasn't ready to come in. Poch needed players ready to come in, step straight into that team to refresh it up. But Ndombele wasn't ready when he arrived at Tottenham. You know, Carlos Vinicius, is that a long-term? Is that someone long-term that a manager can work with? I don't know. Gareth Bale, after the sounds today, that's not really a long-term thing. Matt Doherty, his age, that wasn't long-term. An extra 8 million, you would have got Matt Sarrans. That's long-term. They're not. See, they're just plugging gaps right now, and this is the problem. They're just plugging gaps. They don't have an identity where they want to move
but David,
football play.
haven't they been accused of too much thinking of the long term in the past? Think only buying younger players with sell-on value. Hasn't that been a criticism of them in the past?
Look, you could say, in a way, you could say that. You know, there has been a lot of that. There has been a lot of that, no doubt about it. But they have also signed, you know, players to come in straight away and try and make an impact. They have signed players like that. It's just, what I've noticed is the quality of the signings has getting worse. Like when you look at the likes of when we were signing the likes of Carrick, Modric, you know, players like that compared to some of the level of the players we're bringing in
but
now.
David, all those players when we signed them, were in a view of them becoming better, you know, like 3-4 years down the line. They were all a long-term plan, all of those players. And when you're looking at the squad now, we're not looking at players that can come in 4 or 5 years that can do the job. We're looking at, you know, under Jose Mourinho, we're looking at players that can come in here, now, do the business right now. Like Luka Modric wasn't a world-class player when we, you know what I mean? He wasn't a world-class player when we signed him. Michael Carrick wasn't a world-class player when we signed him. They were all players with potential.
No, but like I'm talking about like some of the players like Van der Vaart and Peter Crouch, players like that. Like when I was talking about Modric and Carrick, I'm talking like, you know, they would have been them sort of players. But when you're talking like Van der Vaart, Peter Crouch, they were players that were also brought in to help achieve. But look, you know, they brought in Matt Doherty, a right wing back, to play a right back. That's not immediate to come in and help the team. Ndombele, whoever done the background into that, he was never like, they should have known he was never going to be up to the fitness standard of the Premier League, this, that, and the other. So, you know, and the amount of money they spent on the guy as well. Like when you spend that sort of money, you expect them for the here and now.
But in terms of a player, in terms of a player like Tanguy Ndombele, if you had that money at that time, and you know the quality that he can be in the next 2 years, would you not sign him?
See, that's a hard one. You have to weigh it up. Like ultimately, no one can sit there and argue. When we signed him, the league form was declining dramatically.
Yeah.
You know, and we got to the Champions League, okay, but we all know that really did hide what was happening from that November to the end of the season. Now, if we didn't get the Champions League, we would have looked at that, the Champions League final, and covered up. We would have looked at that a whole different situation where we would have said, no, we need Pochettino to get the players that are going to come in now and make a difference this season. And ultimately, I can't forgive the board for how they treated Martin Jol. I can't forgive the board for how they treated Pochettino. I just can't do it. I'd even go as far as saying, I know Harry Redknapp was making noises, but if they would have backed him properly before that, would he have ever made them noises? You know what I mean? He wanted to take Tottenham to the next level. It's just disappointing. I can't forgive how they treat managers. And ultimately, anytime someone comes out and makes sounds about wanting to be bigger, wanting to do better, wanting to be to the next level, wanting to get better players in, you know, you have Pochettino, you have Harry Redknapp, you have Danny Rose ultimately was talking about, you know, break the wage structure, give me more money, give me the money I deserve, get better players in to help, this, that, and the other. So anytime anyone makes noises about Tottenham going to the next level, they're out of there. They're just outcasting out of there. And ultimately, I think Mourinho's going to make that noise. He's done it at United. He's going to make that noise. And I think he'll be the next one sacrificed. But then after that, we've no one else to look at but ENIC. And look, I'm not ENIC out. I am going to give them this summer to put things right. Everything is in place to put things right this summer. And if they don't do it, well, then ultimately, once Mourinho goes, they're in a bad situation, because anyone who's Mourinho and Mourinho out, they all have their points. They all sit there and say it's the board, but Mourinho's dividing them. Once Mourinho goes, or if he goes, the board have major problems, because there's only one direction to focus on, and that's them.
All right, David. Absolute pleasure as always. Some great points you've made there. So yeah, let's move on to the next person. David, see you
Nice
on
one,
Thursday,
David.
my friend.
I'll see you Thursday, lads. And enjoy your few days. I'm going to anyway. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on. I think the one transfer window ENIC don't get enough criticism for is the one where we actually got Champions League and then all we signed was Van der Vaart on deadline day, like the last day, the last second of the window.
Was that our only signing?
That was our
summer?
only signing that window.
So
we signed Sandro as well, but he was a youngster.
Right.
So I think that summer when we finally got Champions League after so many years, when that was a real summer to go, okay, we've got Champions League now, we're really going to sustain ourselves.
What did we need at that time, though?
Huh?
What did we need at that time?
We needed a striker badly because we only had Crouch and Pavlyuchenko and we needed more.
Pav brought us through that season. He got us Champions League pretty much at the end of that season.
The season before, yeah.
Yeah.
But we definitely, everyone knows that was the main thing, a striker. We definitely needed a right back.
Is that all we had? Crouch and Pav? Did we not have Defoe? Oh, we had Defoe as well.
Yeah, but we definitely needed a striker. I remember at the time it was a big thing. We needed a striker. We never got one. I think probably needed a what's it called, a centre back as well. Probably needed a right back.
Who did we have? Dawson, King. Who else?
King was never playing, hardly playing then. We had Dawson, we had aging William Gallas as well.
Bassong.
Bassong. I think that summer was a big summer for us, and I think that was one of the ones that most frustrated me with Lee.
It's the summers when we achieve. That's when we actually need to kick on the most.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's
when we achieve, that's when they rest on their laurels the most.
Exactly. It's only when we're failing and then when they need to stump up the cash to get us back where we want to be. That's when they usually spend big. And also, I just remember like that when we signed Bent for big money, like that was such a waste of money. Like we had Berbatov, Keane, and Defoe. Why are you spending big money on Darren Bent? That was the biggest waste of money, that signing. And then they use that as an excuse not to spend big money, for a few more years. But anyway, that's a big frustration.
They have gone out and spent a lot of money on kind of players that have completely flopped. When you look at maybe the top 20 players who we've spent on,
all flopped.
Majority of them are all flops.
David Bentley, big money.
David Bentley, Soldado, Janssen. There are so many in there.
Darren Bent. We spent about 30 million on Nkudu and NG. Nothing. Got absolutely nothing back from that. I remember Adebayor. Actually, Adebayor was alright. I'm not going to clown on Adebayor, but Dempsey.
Yeah, but by the end of the Adebayor thing, everyone was dying for him to go.
Yeah, but I think from what we actually paid for him, we probably got quite a decent deal out of him. Postiga at the time, big money.
Rebrov.
Flop. Rebrov, big money at the time. Flop. I remember the replacing Carrick was Zakora. I don't know if you'd call him a flop, but he definitely wasn't on Carrick's level.
I like Zakora.
But he wasn't on Carrick's level.
Nowhere near.
So, a lot of the time, the big signings for us, we did spend money, but we'll spend really, really poorly. Let's read a couple of super chats. Tommy Castillo says, tuning in kind of late, but did you guys see what Bale said? I hope Jose benches him. I'm sorry. Yeah, we did see what Bale said. We have spoken about it. I mean, you can read a lot into it. You can read little into it. I think I think in terms of timing and stuff, it doesn't look great. But I think it's kind of, I don't know. I think it's kind of a nonchalant statement. Brian Daigle says, great show, guys. Still haven't calmed down. I was so angry I forgot to plug our channel at Tottenham Away. Great show, guys, and so sorry for being so wound up.
Big up Tottenham Away. Big up Tottenham Away. Everyone go and subscribe to the big Brian Daigle's Tottenham Away.
Hashtag Levy out and hashtag ENIC out at Tottenham Away. Big up, Brian. And Michael Sober says, yo, lads, great show. ENIC have done okay, but we now need owners that match the ambition of the fans. I defo need call up one day, lads. Keep it up. Cheers, Michael. Really appreciate the message, and for sure, would love to have you on one day. Absolutely love it. And it's been good to have this chat about ENIC.
Let's get Alex back on. See if his audio's issues have sorted. Is he still there, Alex?
Yeah,
Alex.
That's
Alex,
better.
That's much better.
Good? Okay. Perfect.
So where were we, Alex? Where were we?
I was in the middle of an ENIC rant. I can't remember exactly where I was. As many people have done today.
Yeah, as many people. Look, it's a difficult one for ENIC because I think we could, as I was saying to David, we can all acknowledge how good they've done and we can all acknowledge the frustrations. But do you think they have as much control as people would like to think over how they can improve on the pitch, as opposed to they had, in terms of money invested, they have invested money in the past, as me and brother were just saying. Darren Bent, David Bentley, Soldado, Vincent Janssen, we spent tens of millions on
Davinson Sanchez bloody cost 42 million.
Sanchez was 42 million. Yeah, exactly. Like, there has been big money spent, but it hasn't always translated in success.
Yeah, I think you see that a lot through football. If you spend a lot of money, you're right, it doesn't always translate. But I think it has to be said that it's been at more key specific times where we've needed that investment where it hasn't happened.
Could you argue at those times maybe it was better, we really needed a roll of the dice, basically. And sometimes you roll the dice and you get double six, and sometimes you roll the dice and you get double one. And a lot of the times we get double one. But at those key moments, we decided not to roll the dice at all, and that was probably the most criminal thing.
Exactly. The thing is, when you run a business, you need to have your core values, which stand for how you want to run it and what you want to achieve. And the thing with what I was actually getting at before was that. The thing that they've gone for is sustainability, and they're going to stick to that. When you say, when it's possible to maybe roll the dice and see, from a business perspective, it's going against your core values, and that you adopt when you buy something. You spend a lot of money on buying essentially what a product is, business, and that's Tottenham. You need to have a plan, and their plan's always been the sustainability of the club. And so I'm not surprised that they haven't done that, if that makes sense, because it doesn't suit what they want. And we spent.
Isn't that the whole plan on the stadium? Isn't that the whole plan for the stadium, so we can compete with the bigger clubs and for the revenue to start streaming in? And has COVID just hit us at the worst time?
It has. But I'm in no doubt that, and I'm sure the club's also in no doubt. Right now is very, very tricky. Financially, we're going to have to pull off some very, very clever deals in the summer to actually advance the squad to a better place than it is now. But in a couple of years' time, we'll be getting that stadium revenue. We'll be getting all those concerts and events and stuff, and the money will flow back. This is a stadium that's going to be here for something like the next 100 years or something. It's that sort of thing which does put the club in a great place. We forget it is one of the best stadiums in the world. Obviously, stadium isn't a trophy, and you said it earlier. I know I'd prefer a Premier League title instead of the stadium. As a football fan, I'm thinking in the short term, like we really all will. I want that glory, and we haven't achieved one trophy in my lifetime. Is just ridiculous, to be honest. And it's the most damning statistic against ENIC. Completely, but I do understand from their strategy from a business perspective. It makes sense on the business front. They are impeccable. I honestly don't think they've done anything wrong from a business perspective. I can't see one argument against them. Having said that, obviously, business play together, and the business affects the sports side, and from the sports side. They haven't done what they've needed to at the right time.
But in terms of people saying ENIC out and stuff, and Levy out, ENIC out, for that to happen, we need someone to buy the club for 2 billion and then invest hundreds of millions in the playing squad, all out of their own pocket, pretty much. If that's pretty much what the fans are asking for, is that a realistic expectation?
Absolutely not. Because I'll tell you, right, so here's the options. You're right, it will cost, they're looking for somewhere around that. I think they were looking for more a couple of years ago. But I think they'd take that at the moment, especially with COVID and everything. Who is available to buy us? It's going to be...
Jeff Bezos, get Bezos in!
Bezos, I somehow very much doubt that.
No, I'm joking.
But it's Middle Eastern rich people, whatever. And it does. I know it's a bit of a touchy subject with the Tottenham community, but it is the Jewish heritage, isn't it? You have to kind of look at that and say, will our club, we have a very proud Jewish contingency within the club. I'm very proud to have that, but I'm not sure an Arab owner or Saudi owner will be too pleased with that, and that's why I don't think it's going to happen. And I struggle to see who is going to put up a bill for or put up a fee that ENIC is going to like.
I don't know. Well, Arsenal, I mean, and then maybe Arsenal don't have, obviously, known for the Jewish support that Spurs are, but they have a lot.
They kind of are these days.
I know, that's what I'm saying. They have a large Jewish following, and it doesn't stop them having Fly Emirates on their shirts and stuff like that. It doesn't really affect that.
And also the previous.
They're not the owners.
The previous owner before Stan Kroenke of Arsenal was Jewish.
Yeah, he was Jewish.
Peter Hill-Wood, right? David Dean as well. I think he's Jewish too.
Yeah, and it hasn't. I know. Yeah, I guess I don't know. I think it's a bit of a stretch to say the Jewish following could be an influence. I don't know about that, but I do agree. I do agree with your point that we are going to struggle to find someone who's going to fund this operation that all the Tottenham fans are pining for. And obviously they want. Obviously the preferred option is for Levy and ENIC to pump money into the club, but that's not their model. So I kind of see us stuck in this rut for a while until someone comes in and buys us, which I don't see.
Do you not think we're stuck in the rut just until the money from the stadium starts filtering?
Yeah, all that. I hope that happens. And I think COVID hit at the worst time, didn't it? Let's be honest.
Because when you actually look at it, we actually pushed the boat out the season we built that stadium. The season the stadium was built, we signed a Tanguy Ndombele, a Lo Celso, a Ryan Sessegnon, who all three of them were pretty sought-after players at the end of the day. Ryan Sessegnon was an up-and-coming English player. A lot of teams were after him. Giovanni Lo Celso was smashing out in La Liga, and Tanguy Ndombele was one of the most sought-after midfielders in European football at the time. So,
yeah, but you raise a good point. But remember that. How did we actually? I think we only would have bought one of Giovanni Lo Celso or Tanguy Ndombele if we didn't reach the final. Because it was something like 90 million for the reaching the final or something like
that. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So, and that's the only reason why we made those signings at the end of the day, or the how many there were, all three of them. So, look, I think you are right. We are stuck at the moment. I think the plan was to build the stadium and get out was the original plan for ENIC, maybe a couple of seasons or so. But it seems that's not going to happen. I think it's been long. It's not been a secret that they've been looking to sell the club for a while for the right price. From what I hear, at least. And I don't think they're getting anywhere near that at the moment, quoted. So, yeah, it's an interesting situation, definitely, but also very frustrating for the fans. And it's the fans, myself, I feel very sorry for, because we just want to see Tottenham succeed. And I know that ENIC want to see us succeed, but they don't have the philosophy to do that, I think.
All right, Alex, absolute pleasure as always. Thanks for coming back on.
Thank you very much, guys.
And we'll speak to you soon.
Speak to you in a bit, mate.
Speak soon.
Cheers, mate.
Super chat here from Will Stewart.
Come on, Will. Big up the mods.
He says, "How much does Steve Hitchin get paid?
Too much.
I do just as bad a job for as little as 200k a year. Save Daniel Levy some cash." Well, he's put his hat in the ring. maybe he would do just as good a job.
We are kind of running out of time, but we're gonna still get through everyone in the back end. We've got 3 people left. But I think they're going to be a bit shorter than the other ones, I'm afraid. But let's get through them. Amir, how you doing, Amir?
I'm doing good, lads. I'm doing good. How are you over there in London?
Yeah, we're doing good. The weather's slightly starting to change. The sun is starting to come out a bit. So happy days.
We thought we'd depress everyone by talking about ENIC.
Yeah, exactly. We thought we'd bring the mood back down talking about ENIC. But Amir, what's your opinions on ENIC?
Look, it's very tricky, lads. I heard what a lot of people had to say there. David, talking about, challenging for Europe and Champions Leagues. Maybe what he doesn't remember is the 90s, where we were shocking we would finish 10th, 11th, 14th, 9th. We weren't even anywhere near Europe. So since they've come in, you know, obviously everyone at the club can see where we've gone and where we've progressed, and the stadium and the facilities and some of the bigger players that we brought in, and of course getting to the Champions League final. But like you guys said, we are stuck in some kind of rut, and all the players, you know, you just went through, and the amount of money we spent on them. Capoue as well, you can add to the list. There's so many of them. There's so much wasted money. So I do think that something does need to change with regards to the structure. But, you know, you'd have to give them another year with Jose if we get to the Champions League final to try and sort it out. That's my kind of view on it.
So do you think all will be kind of forgiven, or redemption will be made if we kind of really back Jose this summer, get the players out that we need to get out and get the players in that we need to get in?
100%. If they have backed the team strongly in the last 2 years, maybe not got the right recruitment in, not got the right players in exactly, but they have backed us. I would expect, you know, them to fully back us with you know, give Jose any player that he wants, and hopefully he can bleed through some of the youth players coming in as well, which is key, I think, to success, is getting some of these younger guys playing. We saw how good Tanganga was on the weekend.
Yeah.
Roland as well. So I think that's kind of the model for me. I would ask you guys something that, you know, the way you said we were stuck in a rut, right? And what's the kind of solution to it? Could a model like a Barcelona model work for Spurs, where we have members that pay in and that run and own the club, and we vote for a president, and maybe that works alongside someone, an investor? But could that be a model that could work for Spurs, do you think?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
I haven't really thought too much about that.
Yeah, I've never really thought like that in too much detail, but there's no club in England run like that. I think there must be something stopping that happening. So I'm not too sure how that could even happen in the Premier League. I'm not sure what the ruling is, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that could work, but it's an interesting idea, and there's definitely something that, if it is possible, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind to say in who could be president or something like that. But in terms of Levy, do you think a lot of the time in the way he does business, he's been praised for it in the past, he's also come under criticism, but do you think is it ultimately a positive thing, the way he sticks to his guns no matter what, in terms of if he sets a price on a player, or if he's that he's going to buy or sell, he never wavers from that. He never gives an inch pretty much most of the time.
He does. He agrees a deal, then goes lower.
Exactly.
when he's buying a player.
He does the opposite.
He's, you know what, let's agree 10 million, then they come back saying, yeah, all right. No, I'm going to give you 8 million.
8 million now. Is that right? Yeah, 8 million? No, but like, what do you think of it? Like, do you think if he would have pushed the boat out a bit more for a few players and got them over the line, we would be in much better stead? This club would be a much better place right now? Or do you think that we are where we are because of his tough negotiating tactics?
I think his tough negotiating tactics have definitely held us in good stead, and I think, you know, he does come under a lot of criticism, Levy. But at the end of the day, you live and die on your sword. He took the decision to get Pochettino out. He got a manager who's won everything in, you know, so he took that decision. And when we're yet to know if it's going to pay off or not. Pochettino took a decision, you know, as you guys remember in the Champions League final, to play an injured player, and that kind of, you know, for me, that might have been what cost him his job at the end of the day. That decision and that performance in the Champions League final, and of course the players stopped him playing for him. But I think at the end of the day, Levy has worked wonders with the club, with the stadium, with the deals that he's done in terms of concerts and stuff once COVID is over. He's really taken this club to the next level, guys, you know, going from...
But is he the man to take us to the next level after this?
That's a good question. Where's his motivation lie now? You know, is he ready for another decade? A big, huge struggle against all these huge teams and these other, you know, lesser teams coming up, like the Villas, the West Hams, the Leeds, you know, all these guys getting better. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know where his head's at. I would hope that he's up for the challenge. If he's not, then he needs to find a dignified person to replace him. Do you know what I mean? And bring this club to the next level, because we deserve it, guys. We deserve the titles. We deserve the trophies. We have to bring back these glory days, lads. That's what it's about, you know. Carabao Cups are not. It's not enough. It's not.
I agree. All right, Amir. Thank you very much for coming on, man.
Nice one, Amir. Good to speak
No
to you, mate.
worries. No worries. Take it easy, guys.
Take care, man. We had a comment here from Newcastle Fans TV. Big up yourself, Lee. And he says, "I'll swap you Levy for Ashley any day of the week."
You can keep Ashley, that's for sure. You can definitely keep Ashley.
All right, let's get a shout of Tim.
A shout of Tim.
Hello.
Hello, mate.
Hey
How you
guys.
doing?
Yeah, good. Big fan of the channel.
Oh, thank you very
Thanks
much.
for coming on, man.
Yeah, no worries. It's fantastic. We don't actually have Mike Ashley in charge. That'd be something. No, I want to keep this kind of short and sweet. I'm going to touch on the Bale thing a little bit.
Yeah.
Out of respect, he should have said, "I enjoy where I play now," and I think it's such a simple thing to say. Why didn't he say it?
Yeah.
The second thing I just want to gloss over that, because I think if you look too much into it, you can get negatives from it. And I think just, Bale speaks too much, and that's part of his problem. The second thing, I actually think that ENIC have done a good job, but it's time for them to move on.
Okay.
It's time for them. It's time for them now. Like, they've built a brand new stadium. It's like the perfect opportunity to move the club on to somebody else, and in that way we can get more funding into the club and hopefully get some more trophies, or a trophy from it. It's a hard thing to say, because I do think they were a mid-level club, and now we're a top club, top 6 club, and they've taken us through that. And it's been a bit pinch there and a pinch there in terms of money saving, but we are still one of the big clubs.
Exactly.
And I think
a lot of Spurs fans come out and talk about Daniel Levy and ENIC about, we need them to go, parasites for the club, or the footballing side 0 out of 10. But I don't understand how the footballing side can literally be a 0 out of 10, where you look at us on the pitch where we were 20 years ago and look at us on the pitch to where we are now. Like, we can only have dreamed to finish above Arsenal. We can only have dreamed of Champions League football, never mind a Champions League final. We can only have dreamt of that 20 years ago, and now it's an actual reality.
It's precisely. This is a club now where we're consistently in Europe, and it's now a shock for us to be out of Europe.
Yeah.
They've took us to that point. Can they bring us to the next step? Well, they brought in Jose Mourinho, which was a big shocker, because everybody knows Jose Mourinho spends money at clubs. Yeah. So it's kind of it's a big move by ENIC and Levy to bring that manager in. But who knows? Who knows how the future is going to be? Hopefully we get more backment, we get more investment into the club, and I think once COVID's gone, given when that be, and we can get some revenue by putting people in the seats, eventually we'll see more funding into the club. Is it going to be the funding that everybody wants? I don't think it is, and I think that's why we need to get a new owner in, somebody who can push us over the line and ultimately make us more of a competitive team. But that's my opinion.
All right. What's your player? Is your name Tim?
Tim, yeah, Tim.
Tim.
Is a shout of Tim? Is that a channel? Your nickname? Like, what's the story with the name?
Well, my name is Timothy, and I used to do like rants on YouTube a lot.
Okay,
and
on what? On Tottenham?
No, just separate things.
Oh, okay.
But I'm a diehard Spurs fan, so I might start ranting about Spurs. Hopefully.
Hopefully not, yeah.
Hopefully not.
I can guarantee there'll be something to rant about. Guarantee.
No, good rants, lads. Just good rants. But
all right.
Yeah.
Well, nice one, Tim. Thanks for coming on, man.
Well, thanks
No
for
worries,
thanks
guys.
for tuning in. Appreciate it, mate. Cheers for the call.
Cheers, bye.
And now, for last but not least, let's get the Joracle on.
Come on, let's get.
Come on, Jory.
Oh, gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Yes, Jory. How's it going, my friend?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We
Okay.
can see you.
It's going
Yeah,
good,
talk
guys.
to me. Talk to me. What are your thoughts about Gareth Bale's comments first of all?
Yeah, so for me, comments like that at this point is you really can't take them as anything other than playing for leverage. And to be honest, you were talking about what would the upside be for that and so on. I can see a scenario where Levy and Mourinho is coaching him actually to say this, because
You reckon?
basically what I mean, that's could be one scenario. So where they basically want to not go for the option and renegotiate a better deal, basically, So that could be one way of doing it. The other way of doing it would be like the option, but with some kind of add-ons or whatever, we can't know that. But if in terms of leverage, I would say that comment from Bale is now giving Bale and Tottenham leverage in negotiations with Real. So that's definitely how I see it. So and like I don't see why Bale would feel the need to come out and say it right now. I mean, I think Bale is on a level and in a money bracket where everything like this is discussed with lawyers and agents and you name it, So they know what they're doing there, I think. So I don't necessarily take it as bad news.
A lot of Spurs fans feel, and Ben also, I guess, would say that maybe Bale's disrespecting Spurs by not completely saying he wants to be at Spurs next season. Not outwardly saying that. Do you see that point of view?
Yeah, well, that's actually, I was actually listening to you, Sim, like saying, I don't see how he's saying that and so on, and it's kind of funny sometimes watching you, Sim, because you're always kind of keeping to what's actually on paper or what's actually stated or the data or whatever, whereas, of course, fans in their nature maybe run with it a little bit too much, and I think the time for, if you want to get real loyalty statements, I think it's the time that you should maybe listen to them is when we're succeeding, not when we're down for some reason or there's a crisis and stuff like that. I don't think, if we take the Danny Rose situation, what do we put any stock in what he said when he was kind of being a nuisance at the club, or do we put stock in what Eriksson said before he left? I don't think we should. Even if they mean it, we can't know for sure, and there's no reason to let them kind of kick us on the way out.
I mean, Jory, the thing that annoyed me the most with what Gareth Bale said is not that he didn't mention Tottenham or wanting to be at Tottenham next year. The thing that annoyed me the most is that when he said that his main priority was to come play football and get fit for the Euros. I mean, he didn't say it in that specific terms, but that's the gist of the thing I got. And what I was really annoyed at is that it basically seems that you're just using Tottenham as a training camp to get fit for the Euros, to get match fit, which didn't sit right with me. That's where I was coming from.
No, and I agree with it if you take it at face value. And I guess you should, when people say something, you gotta assume that they mean what they say. But I'm always kind of, me, guys, I like to speculate and try and read between the lines and all that. So I think it's something to do with the negotiations coming up, So,
but the thing is, I was under the impression that the negotiations have already taken place.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the way I understand it, the option is in there. We can take it or we can leave it. But we can also leave it and then go back and say, listen, the option wasn't really good enough. We spent all this money on Bale and he didn't play all these months and so on. We want Bale, but we got to be realistic about the price and so on, So that's kind of what I'm hoping. And I kind of also think for now that might be the I can really see both Levy and Mourinho like almost coaching Bale and his agent to go this way, So
Look, it's a
but-
possibility. It's a possibility. But look, let's
Yeah.
move on to ENIC and let me get your
Yeah.
thoughts on, have ENIC done a good job, Jory?
Yeah, so I want to break it down into two sections. One is the retail side of business, or the fan-facing side of business, and the other is the football side of business. So when they came in, I like it's for me. I'm looking at the ENIC in the same way that I look at a lot of the Icelandic retail kings that came to England and Scandinavia and bought up all kinds of high street chains and stuff. And what they saw 20 years ago was a huge fan base, a big club, completely underperforming and not living up to its potential, retail-wise. Not only football-wise, but actually it had like a big following, kind of like what's happening with Leeds now. You know, you had a club that was way down there, and you had a really big community and a big history. You know, and that side of things they have absolutely maximized to the max. I think they're pretty much leveling out now. I think they can't grow this club a lot more. They can grow it a little bit more. If they want to grow it a lot more now, this is where the crunch comes. They need to now step up and become as good as the biggest clubs football-wise. And that's where they're terrible. They really don't know what they're doing. Of course, these guys have egos as well. They have spent a lifetime making deals that make them silly rich. So they of course approach the football side as well as if they know how to make deals, you know. But what we've seen a lot, especially like just now with the whole situation with Inter, for example, with Skriniar and stuff, is that if you make too good a deal for yourself, and you make it a bittersweet deal or a bitter deal for your counterpart, well, that's going to come back and bite you. How many clubs are you going to be dealing with in Europe? Not too many. You need to have good mutual relationships in your deals, you know, and that's something I feel like Levy, you know, Levy is too much of a deal killer type. You know, he will always go, like you say, we agree on 10 million, and then they come back for the money and it's like, no, I'm sorry, man, I only have 8 million now. So
do you think he's burnt a lot of bridges?
I think he's too focused on the deal instead of what it means in the long term, you know. And also, I mean, what I think is worse really is how they spent the money, because they have spent in certain periods, you know, and both that's inconsistent, which is not helpful for building something for the future. Like you said, we went to the final and then we got a 90 million bonus. So let's go out and buy an expensive player or somebody everybody wants. That's not how you're supposed to do it. Make a 5-year plan or whatever, and then you finance that plan. You know, 1 year you reach the final, good. Then you're financed for the next 2 years or whatever. Next year you don't get any money in, then you go to the bank and take a loan, you know. But make a steady plan of how to grow this squad, both with the scouting, youth, academy, everything, and then supporting that with big name talents. Because the brand now, we are not going to grow anymore as a club or as a brand. Our shirt sales are not going to go any higher before we start signing these A-list footballers, you know, like the top tier footballers. And I think David made a good point with, for example, on Dumpele, which we all can agree is one of our best signings of late, you know, and one of the better things that they did. But they paid money for somebody. The money that was paid was for a guy that should have gotten off the ground running, basically, you know. Okay, maybe a couple of months of adaptation, but fitness-wise, he should have been there, you know. We paid money for the Ndombele we have this season. We didn't pay money for the Ndombele we got when we got him, you know. So that's
the risk you run against anyone, signing anyone from any other league, though.
Of course. of course, but I feel like we do this kind of stuff a lot more than anybody else. Like Sanchez, for example, headline signing, but you know, they didn't see something that I'm sure actually better informed clubs did see, you know, and stayed away. The Doherty was the same kind of thing. Hello, Isaac, my son is coming home now. This is kind of what I feel like Levy fails on. Levy and of course Hitchens is like, we know that, you know, and like you said, the best signing we've been doing was with Paul Mitchell. But I think like if we want to not break the bank every time and behave like Barcelona or Real Madrid or something, which is not an option, then we have the formula for how to do it. And that's like Liverpool is doing it. Build up a really powerful department that takes care of acquisition and research and all of that, you know, make it a lot of database stuff, grow your scouting network, you know, make sure that you do really good things for your partnering clubs, you know, and don't hang. And one of the biggest problems for me, because you mentioned net spend, that we're actually about the highest net spenders, and that's, I mean, if you don't sell your players, then you will always come out as a pretty high net spending, you know. So if you look at some of these biggest clubs, they're often net positive, even though they did big name signings, you know. So net spending doesn't say enough, you know. What you need is a certain consistency in your overall spending year in and year out, you know. So I think the net spend comment is exactly the kind of comment Levy would make, because he knows that how misleading it is, you know, because I think our biggest problem is actually selling players. When we sign players, like now we have Doherty. What's Levy gonna ask for Doherty, you know? You know, it's and is it worth what kind of cost is that going to ensue keeping these players on? You know, it's hurting your team, so it's hurting your brand, so it's hurting the amount of players you can have in the squad and so on, which is a problem we've been dealing with. You know, so I think Levy should definitely leave the football business to somebody else.
Yeah, I think that's something that hasn't been touched on, I think, throughout the stream. The fact that Levy has so much say in football matters in terms of just business. Because he's on the transfer committee, isn't he? He's on the transfer committee. He obviously negotiates. I don't mind him negotiating all the deals and stuff, but when it comes to like identifying players and deciding who to keep on and who to sell and stuff like that, I think he has way too much control over that stuff. And I think he definitely should be delegating that kind of stuff to other people.
That's a no-brainer for me. Like, why is Daniel Levy on this transfer committee apart from to sign off the checks?
I think it's an ego thing. You see it in the documentary. You see it in the documentary where he's always stopping in on Mourinho, asking him questions about things, how things are going on the football pitch and stuff, and like he's always around the club and around the players.
If Daniel Levy is going to be on this transfer committee, you need to take a Moneyball approach. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah. But I mean, Levy is the type of guy that's micromanaging everything that's important to the club, you know. That's these guys. I know a lot of these guys personally through my brother-in-law, the Icelandic guys who went over there 10 years ago.
To West Ham.
Well, yeah, I know.
Magnussen.
I actually worked for him as a teenager, so yeah, I know him personally as well. Yeah. But this is how they operate. It's like they want, especially if it's fancy and it's glittery, like the football signing is, you know. Then they want to be involved, you know. They have egos. They're very they want to, Levy wants to be in a meeting with Mourinho, and discuss the finer points of these things. The truth is, we should hand over, if anybody should have max control in this regard, it should be Mourinho. Mourinho should be making initial list of established targets that we should be looking at, and then we should be running that through our department of research and data crunchers and so on. So
Jory, before we let you go, did you manage to drive up to the volcano like you said the other day?
No, it's been closed today because of gas pollution. I'm gonna go there, and I will bring some Spurs. I don't have a flag, but I'll bring a shirt with me at least. So
beautiful.
I will have some footage for you guys once I go there. So
brilliant. Looking forward to it. But Jory. Yeah. Look, thank you so much for coming on. We've been going for nearly 3 hours now talking about Levy and ENIC. So look, Jory, thank you so much for coming on. And,
the hardest guys working in show business.
Come on. Thanks, Jory. We'll speak to you soon.
Okay, take care, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realise we were going for that long.
That's actually gone quite quickly.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty good.
But look, that is it. That is our 20-year ENIC stream. Everyone go, scroll down, smash that like, smash that subscribe button. It means a lot to the channel, and it means a lot to the YouTube algorithms, and it makes us be seen a lot more every day that you give us those more likes. So get us to 500 likes. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in today. It was really interesting to get all your thoughts around Levy, around Joe Lewis, about ENIC, around Gareth Bale as well. We've got a lot more content coming your way. This evening, we're going to be releasing our end-of-term report. So we're giving all the players in the squad a score from, well, what is it? It's not a score. It's a mark from A star down to F. So that is going out around 7 o'clock this evening. And then we've got the big hot spar tomorrow when John and Sim go head to head.
Sure, we're going to be arguing about Bale. I have a feeling.
John and Sim go head to head. So look out for that tomorrow. 3 o'clock, we'll be going live with the hot spar. So we look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.